Hey there, folks. We figured out our technical difficulties, and the stream is now live. Before I get started, I want to thank Frame by Frame for requesting this live stream with Matt and Fabio, as well as, of
Good
course,
guy.
myself, OCP. And he requested the three of us to defend Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And I'm all for that because this film gets way too much crap, if you ask me. It's
It's
something
bullshit.
that really does puzzle me because I saw this in the theater in 2008 in a packed house, and when the movie was over, it got a standing ovation. And it's like one of the few films that I've seen in the theater that has ever gotten a standing ovation from the entire theater. Like everyone stood up, like that and clapped. It wasn't like a good handful of people, every single person did. And critics at the time liked it too. It did well in the box office, so I don't really know precisely why everyone and their mother has seemingly turned on this movie. I know there's a lot of
It seemed
popular
like the
YouTube
cool thing to
critics.
do.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Eat
That
the
that
fridge, South Park,
yeah.
all that crap.
All these popular YouTubers like Red Letter Media and Nostalgia Critic and whoever. Um,
Which is
but
funny because I like Ridley Meter, but they like The Force Awakens, and that's 10 times worse than anything in Kingdom of Crystal Skull because at least it was his own movie. It wasn't a carbon copy, crappy version of an older film.
yeah, hey there.
It didn't have,
Uh,
Han Solo. Like Indiana Jones, he's kicking ass. Han Solo, he's a pussy ass. Which is better? I think Indy, and not the one that his Geritol or whatever on the new one
yeah,
where he's
I
100 years
rewatched
old.
I rewatched Indy 4 um in preparation for this stream, and I was really entertained by it. I loved it. I had a blast. And to be honest, Harrison was older, but he was still in really good shape for his age, and I thought he actually pulled it off when it comes to the physical stuff. I guess it also helped too that, there's a lot of real stunts and, a lot of real sets. There was a little CGI, but it wasn't nearly as crammed with CGI as people think.
Did you see it in the theater, Fabio?
I did. I did see it in the theaters when it came out. It wasn't packed, but there was a good amount of people there, and it was fun. It's like, okay, yeah, there's some shitty CGI. I mean, I'll complain about that, but other than that, like Shia LaBeouf used to bother me, but he kind of grew on me as time went on. And I'm
Yeah,
like, okay, like he's not that bad, and everything
he isn't.
else,
He's actually pretty decent in it.
right? There's, like you said, there's a lot of practical stuff in it, and they did it for real even in 2008. So I don't understand what the problem is, but yeah, it was one of those movies that it came out and it made money and it did well and people liked it, and then all of a sudden it wasn't cool anymore, and everybody got mad and they had to make fun of
Mhm.
it on the internet because they were trying to fit in. No,
Yeah.
just I hate people like that. If you like it, you
So,
like it. If you don't, you don't. Don't change your
yeah,
mind to fit in. Like it's stupid.
this isn't high school. That's the
Right.
thing. It's like it's not high school.
Mm.
Um, I thought the quicksand scene was fine. I actually laughed quite a bit during that scene. I thought it was a great way to incorporate the snakes again. And
You know what makes the film work? Sorry about that. What makes the film work is it respects the characters. And a
yes.
lot of sequels and legacy sequels nowadays does not do that. Whether it be Bill and Ted
Mhm.
3, whether it be even Rambo 5, at least they didn't kill him off. It was close, it seemed. Creed, let's give Rocky cancer and throw up because we
Yeah.
need Michael B. Jordan's boring butthole of a face to try to act through these movies with the same stink face, the bastard.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna do some trail montage while some people are yodeling or whatever the hell music play. Eddie Morricone, spaghetti western. Oh yeah. It's a legacy sequel that actually respects his characters. It respected Karen Allen. It respected
Yes.
Harrison Ford. It didn't pull any political BS like they do nowadays. They did a
I mean, you
lot
had a
of
female
good stuff in
villain.
it.
You had Kate Blanchett, who played Spalko, and they weren't shoving it down your throat that she's a woman and she's strong and she's better than every other, character in the movie. Like they didn't do that. Uh, if anybody hears anything in the background, my parents are, just greeting each other. My mom came home from work, so there we go. But here's a question for Frame by Frame. Why do you think people hate this film so much? And we kind of answered it a little bit, but I'll just kind of share my thoughts, a little bit more extended thoughts on it myself, and then kind of just go around to the
Sure, it
rest
could
of
be
you guys.
you and Fabio, then me. We can
Yeah,
give each of
Whatever,
our
yeah.
opinions on
yeah.
why this. So go ahead, man.
I think uh, it's definitely an extension of what you were talking about, that it became an uncool film for some reason. A lot of people wanted to fit in, like they're in junior high or something, and they didn't want to be ostracized by the film community if they said that they liked the movie. Similar sort of thing that happened on the opposite spectrum with The Dark Knight Rises when that came out. A lot of people were like, I don't, I can't say that I think the film sucks because I don't want to get hated on by randos on the internet. So they overpraised it, even for people that weren't really that big of a fan of the movie. Um, I think it's also one of those things where it just became this sort of runaway boulder of hate from all different places, from the media, from the internet, and it just became a big punching bag. And I don't really understand 100% why Indy 4 was the target instead of so many other god awful crappy films that are a million times worse, or sequels that are 10 times worse. Um but also it might have been a little bit of backlash to the Star Wars prequels, so a little bit of that, like it's still a little bit of the Star Wars prequel backlash from fans. A lot of the same people who are diehard fans of Indiana Jones are diehard fans of Star Wars. So maybe there was a little bit of that too, a little bit of Lucas hate, a little bit of, this and that. Um, but yeah, it's one of those things where, yeah, it's just a runaway boulder of hate. Flattened Indy 4 for some reason.
Oh well.
How about you, Fabio?
Yeah, I think I never thought of the Star Wars prequel analogy before, but that does make a lot of sense now. I'm like, okay, well, people hated those movies and Lucas, quote unquote, ruined them or whatever. But yeah, and again, I just think it was a movie where it came out, it made money, it was successful and things, and then all of a sudden, because the internet, people just really turned against it for whatever reason, and it became the joke. And I'm like, well, I mean, I like it. I've always liked it. And again, like if you like it, like it. Don't try to fit in because you know it's not high school. It's not complicated, but the things that people complain about is weird. Like, well, there's aliens. I'm like, well, they did comic books and they did books with Indiana Jones that had aliens in it. Um, the whole nuke the fridge thing, that was the joke. It's the old
Mhm.
refrigerators could survive a nuclear blast, like the way they were built. It's just part of the joke. I'm sorry that people didn't get the joke. Like that's the hilarious part about it. Like, okay, he's not gonna die because he's in a fridge. I think we'll be okay.
I think it was also, the whole atom bomb sequence. I think it was a showcase of visual effects. I think it was just
Mm-hmm.
a set piece to create a really awesome, cool looking shot of Indy looking at the atomic blast, looking at the mushroom cloud. And I think it was also a way to showcase, you know, Indy's era meeting the 50s era face to face. And I think Indy 4 in a lot of ways is very heavily trying to be like a 50s movie, dealing with a lot of the same things that were very common in 50s films. In terms of mind control, the Russians are the bad guys, the Red Scare, and aliens. Aliens were the focus of so many films in the 1950s, and it makes sense because the Indiana Jones trilogy was inspired by the old serials from the 30s. So, and it also dealt with a lot of the same political stuff that was going on in the 30s and a lot of that kind of thing. So it makes sense that in the 50s, which is the set piece for Indy 4, you would have 50 stuff. You're gonna have Nazis again. You're not gonna have, the same stuff. And I like that about it. And there's also a lot of B movie stuff in it, which I think might have turned some people off. But if you watch some of the 30 serials, there's some B movie elements in those too. But this is more closer to like, the 50s B movies that were quite popular in theaters around the time.
Yeah, that was the point. People clearly didn't get that. Indiana Jones is a tribute to that. I'm sorry. Same with Star Wars. Star Wars was a tribute to Flash Gordon. George Lucas has said that numerous times. I'm sorry that people didn't get that.
Yeah, I definitely think, in my opinion, it is. What's the word I'm thinking of? It's being part of a bandwagon. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of bandwagon where people just figure.
You're right back. Just hold on.
You know what?
Go ahead.
1 or 2 or 3 people hated it, and they're the cool kids, so I better hate it too, because if I somehow say that I somehow like it, then that means I'm this or that or the other insult. I'm like, screw that. I don't give a fuck that. I think it's not as bad as the films people make out consistently say that. But yeah, I think a lot of people follow bandwagon. A lot of them follow a bandwagon mentality. There's a lot of people, not all. If you sincerely don't like it, that's fine. But there's a lot of people that follow bandwagon because they don't want to think for themselves. They think it's part of a group think. And that's happened many times, whether it be people that love every single Marvel film and call it a 10 out of 10. And I like a lot of Marvel films, but not every one of them is a 10 out of 10. Or defend every DC film to death, even though it's the bottom of the barrel. They're like, we gotta be part of this. And it's became a meme. We gotta join the meme. We gotta do it on our TikToks and our Twitters. And well, South Park said it, so it must be gospel. I think there's a lot of people who don't follow their own point of view. There's a lot of people that may think they have their own point of view, but they follow a trend. They follow a big bit of bandwagon mentality. And that's why, I could sit here and say I enjoy the 1998 Godzilla and I don't give a fuck. I enjoy this film, I don't give a fuck. I enjoy Volcano from 1997, I don't give a fuck. What the critics said or what the quote popular opinion is, they got their opinion, these two, I have my opinion. And that's, I guess, why we're different from the bad batch, so to speak. But fuck them and fuck that. It's not that bad of a film. Look at many sequels nowadays.
I agree. Fuck them and fuck that.
Yeah. I mean, from Samuel, do you think Indiana Jones and the Dial of Jizz will make Kingdom of Crystal Skull look like Terminator 2? Yes. Yeah, I do.
And your only hope.
But yeah, someone commented, they said, I wish Sean Connery was in the movie. I do too. I wish he just came out of retirement.
He almost did. Like, he was really close. But then he was like...
I wish that he
was like, nah, I'm going to stay retired.
No, I wish that he just would have said, okay, I'll do one more movie. I just wish that he would have did that.
So here's another...
not that there's anything wrong with League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, but could you...
Well, there's a lot of things wrong with that movie.
Could you have picked a better movie to go out on? Like, come on now.
But Sean Connery isn't one of them. I love the story on the
Yeah.
set where I guess he threatened to or he actually did punch the director or one of those things where Stephen Norrington was kind of being a dick or being being problematic and disagreeable and just whatever. And Sean Connery wasn't having it.
There's that word again, problematic.
I'm trying to say it in a politically correct way.
I know, I'm just messing with you.
But yeah, frame by frame, yes. What are your thoughts on this review from Rotten Tomatoes? Well, first of all, it's from Rotten Tomatoes, and
take it with a grain of salt.
There's a lot of reviews on Rotten Tomatoes from so-called verified critics that I'm like, who the hell is this person? Like, they're about as verified as either of us, and I think we're better critics.
We're more verified than them.
Because we're honest.
Yeah. We're like, oh, they're verified, but you go to their website and you're like,
there's nothing on there.
There's nothing there. Like, there's no engagement. There's no anything. There's no comments.
And as for that comment, those films are very realistic. They're all very realistic.
Oh yeah, movies. They're just so everything about them is true. Yeah.
It's all
I hate this argument. I absolutely loathe this argument when it comes to people deciding to criticize this movie. The previous films were completely, totally unrealistic in multiple different ways, fantasies. Got an Ark of the Covenant that melts people's faces with spirits that fly out of it. You've got all these other incredulous action sequences that there's like no fucking way that in a real actual scenario that you're going to be sliding under a truck numerous times, like in Raiders of the Lost Ark, with just a whip. Like, that's not happening. You're going to get run the fuck over.
You will die. It's not complicated.
Hearts ripped down, you're still alive. I mean, the Temple of Doom.
The whole bit in Temple of Doom, falling out of an airplane in a life raft, landing on a mountain.
Because that's realistic.
Then sliding all the way down the mountain, then landing on a river that's in the middle of the rapids
and
not getting capsized.
I know this is a bitter pill for people to swallow, but no movie is realistic. They're movies. They're not real.
Yeah.
They're the entertainment.
And I hate the fact that Indy 4 created that website, Nuke the Fridge, because it's one of the most pointless, stupid websites. That was like a thorn in my side a little when I was like after high school, when that thing became popular, because I'm like, this is so stupid. Like, they're talking about how Die Hard's unrealistic and all these other movies are unrealistic. The whole point of the site was just for people to bitch about how unrealistic movies are. And I'm like, that's part of the fun.
Yeah, because James Bond, all those movies are just so realistic.
For sure.
Oh, my God.
And also, even Nuke the Fridge, it's hilarious because I saw it was Mythbusters or it was some other sort of scientist who did a study. And he basically said you technically could survive the explosion in a lead-lined fridge, which I found hilarious. Like, the whole basis of that website is on the Nuke the Fridge bit. And there's an actual scientist who's like, wait a second. Like, it's possible.
This will work. Like,
no. I mean, yeah, you can't survive the being thrown and 100 feet.
No,
it's a movie. I mean, he can't survive like Temple Doom. We mentioned like falling down 5 miles on a rubber raft, and then not even like barely get wet when it hits the water. But it's fun, escapism. What made it work was the characters, the way it was directed. What makes that scene work is the buildup of it.
Yes.
I remember in the theater going, oh shit, when he's seeing the mannequins.
I'm watching it again. I knew it was coming, and I was still like, oh shit.
He's looking at the mannequins, and he's like, thinking they're people. You go, oh shit.
Yeah, that part always gets me when he looks at the mannequins. It's hilarious.
And even the bit before, when he walks out in the yard and sees all the other mannequins outside, and like has a moment where he kind of trips over his feet. And like knocks a couple of them over. Like, I thought that was actually kind of funny. And I think that was intentional. I don't think that was like, You know, let's make Indy look like a total fool there. It's just one of those things where he's like, oh
There's
shit.
a human moment.
Human moment. Got a super chat from Movies and Breakfast. Thank you so much.
Kevin Costner.
He says, I remember a rumor that Kevin Costner was going to play Indy's brother and Natalie Portman as Indy's daughter. I know he said industry, but I think he meant to say Indy.
Yeah,
Indiana Jones.
Auto correct or whatever.
Yeah, audio correct. The auto correct was like industry, not Indiana, right?
Indy's not a word.
I wish we could have gotten that instead. I'm fine with what we have, to be honest, because you get Karen Allen, who comes back, and contrary to what some people have said, I thought she was great in it. I really did. I thought she still had wonderful chemistry with Harrison, and she was fun. She still had the same spark, and it was really sweet that her and Indy got married at the end. I loved the ending of Crystal Skull. I really liked that.
If people are giving Karen Allen crap, then that shows how illogical their arguments are, because there's nothing wrong with her performance. It's very sweet, it's very earnest. That is a fan throwback done well, because it's part of a story that makes it go full circle. How it began, how it ended, just like Rambo 4, full circle, where the end of that film was like the beginning of First Blood. That's the right Easter egg, whatever the hell you want to call it, that they throw in all these other movies that are stupid. Halloween trilogy, for example, the new one.
Yeah.
All that crap. Like Halloween Ends is more stupid and unrealistic and offensive, and Corey Cunningham, and that's more than anything this film did.
Absolutely.
Other than we've mentioned some bad CG, it's not that bad of a film.
And even some of the CG in this is actually amazing. Like, the film doesn't get enough credit for the CG that it has, that it actually is pretty damn good. I thought the fire ant stuff actually looked fantastic. I thought there were some of the other shots, like the waterfall stuff, like they didn't do that for real. They didn't go over 3 waterfalls.
Oh, they did. They did. Because it's so real.
For 2008, there's some CGI in that from ILM that's incredible. And I think they deserve a little more credit. And it's not all CGI gophers and monkeys bad. Yeah, that's a good point. Indy catches a ride in a submarine and nobody says anything about it. Exactly. How did he breathe? Does he have gills? Is he secretly the mariner from Waterworld? Is he the mariner's dad?
Yeah, that's why they were going to bring Kevin Costner. But I was surprised when Karen Allen showed up, because I didn't know that she was in it until I saw the movie in the theater. I was like, that was nice that they brought her back.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I don't get the issue people have. Because there was a whole, like, that was one of the, like, biggest, like, most consistent criticisms that, like, pissed me off from Mr. Plinkett's review, the Red Letter Media review of this movie. Is he was like shitting on Karen Allen, and I was like, "Why are you doing that? There's no reason to dump on her."
Well, to be fair, they're the ones that liked the Jar Jar Abrams Star Trek and said he should direct Star Wars. Look how that turned out. I rest my case. So
yeah, the action scenes in Crystal Skull are also really rousing and fun. Like the opening sequence in the warehouse, that's another example of an Easter egg kind of moment that was actually well done. It didn't feel like it was that forced, because it actually it was a fun callback. It was a fun way to kind of bring things full circle a little bit. You know, the ending of Raiders is that warehouse, and then you wind up back in that warehouse in the beginning of Indy 4.
Yeah, you see a little bit of the Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah, just a little bit, but not anything too crazy. And you even have like a scene where the Russians are talking to Indiana Jones, and he's like as if he's been there before. And he's like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I've never been here before.
How did you feel about the way it was revealed? I thought it was very cool, in the shadow and you just see him pick up the hat, and
epic.
that was a really nice reintroduction.
Yes, it was great. And I really like the moments where they show his age a little bit, show his rust, where he gets the whip and then swings backwards and then winds up in the the front of the Jeep and then punches some of the guys. I love that they brought back the same kind of punches, the sound effects, the sound design. They didn't try to modernize it or anything. You still had the same like loud, old school punches and everything. And that whole sequence was just a blast. And even prior to that, with Indy using his smarts and using the whole stuff with the magnet, the stuff that's magnetized to try to find where the alien coffin is or whatever. I thought that was really cool. There's a lot of really ingenious stuff in this script that I don't think gets enough credit. Like stuff like that, in terms of using stuff that's metal to try to find the artifact in the warehouse. Some of the scenes in the end, when it comes to the pillar being the key to get to the hidden treasures, so to speak, and the room with all the aliens. Yeah, and fun little like, hey, remember Indy's afraid of snakes? Well, now he's got to use a snake to try to get it out of the quicksand. I thought that was fun too.
So, Fabi, how did you feel about the opening? Were there any favorite parts you had of it? How do you feel about like seeing the way Indy's introduced or the whole opening action scene? Was there any favorite parts you had of that?
I really like the reveal because with the shadows and everything, that was cool. And I love the line when he goes, "Damn, I thought that was closer," because it just showed that he was getting older.
Yeah,
it made sense. And no, I mean, I think all that was practical. I didn't notice any CG in that scene.
No,
but I'm like, okay, like this is how you start your movie. This is how you get people into it. And yeah, being in the warehouse and like clearly he was there before, but he didn't want to let the Russians know that he was there, and seeing the arc. It's like, okay, this is how you do it the right way. Not let's bring back a character that you saw for half a second in a movie that came out 40 years ago, and now they're the main character. What? No, that doesn't make any sense.
No. Big thanks to Bobby for the super chat. Thank you. He says, I'm fine with unrealistic in movies. It's fun. Exactly. If you have someone on one tall building jump to another tall building that is far away to punch someone off, that's the fun of it. If we do that, we go splat. Exactly. We try to do what Indy did in that scene where he's
dead.
jumping from one of the platforms to the next. And that was all practical. That was all real stuntmen. And that was really cool to see. Because it's the kind of stuff, unless you're watching a Tom Cruise movie, a lot of the times nowadays, you're not seeing any of that.
Nope.
It's all done behind a green screen.
Just pretend there's a giant banana there and react. Okay, sure. That's not acting. That's not acting.
Yeah, there's like there's a comment that someone mentioned. I'm trying to find it because they were talking about. Yeah, they're talking about superhero films. I'll just mention it because they mentioned
best
Marvel
all
movies.
The superheroes get the pass.
Yeah, because the Marvel movies get the
stuff.
pass for their CGI, but Indy 4 gets a lot of crap. I know there's another super chat by frame I want to get to before I start going backwards. Thanks again. Thank you, frame by frame.
It's Kathleen quantity. What do you expect?
Strong as it could have been.
I mean, what more did you want?
You know what story wasn't strong? Making Luke a loser. That wasn't a strong story either. Making him love the titty milk. But where the hell milk that is? He probably had sex with it off screen. Luke. He's on an island board. What do you think he's doing with that titties? Luke is a dirty old man on an island. You know he's going to do something with them titties.
Yeah. Oh no.
But titties up his bunghole.
Yeah, Kathleen Kennedy. She's so frustrating because you see her name on a lot of classic films. in terms of being an executive producer or being somewhat involved with them. And I'm wondering either what the fuck happened, or was she ever really that good of a producer to begin with? Or was she just glomming on to these other bigger names in Hollywood because she was friends with Spielberg or Lucas or whatever? Seeing what she's done on her own, it makes me honestly believe that she was never really that good of a producer, or she never really did a lot of actual legitimate producing. She was just there for the ride. Because you look at
Probably.
what she's done with Lucasfilm, and it doesn't really compare to anything that she was attached to in the past.
Because she didn't do anything in the past. She got coffee. I'm sorry.
That's
She-
true.
that was the big case of it. She got coffee. She did faxes. Did some dishes. I don't know.
She was the secretary and happened to get a producing credit.
And you see,
I don't know if I
when she
go
has more
that far because I
control-
don't really have evidence of that.
Oh, I'm
but-
sure it happened.
My guess.
Yeah.
Guess. That'd be my estimate.
I'm sure
Based
it
on her
happened.
recent track record.
She was involved with Frank Marshall. She was involved with other people like later on.
I'm sure
But-
on
In their
Jurassic
dishes.
Park, you know, she got the dinosaurs coffee.
Yeah, their coffee. She got their coffee too.
This is by frame again. Is why
The
do you think
Raptors like
Indy 4
cappuccino with a little bit of extra in it.
Why do you think Indy 4 was such a good end for the franchise? Because it was a good send off. It wasn't disrespectful. It didn't show Indy being so old that you're afraid that he's gonna break a hip if he tries to crack the whip. Like you didn't get that, even though he was up there in age. Harrison was still in good enough shape that it wasn't really as much of a stretch as it is now in 2023. Also, you know, the ending. He gets to marry the love of his life. He gets to marry Marion and ride off into the sunset again. And you have that whole moment where, oh, it looks like Mutt might be the future, and then Indy's like, nope, psych.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was a good way of doing it. I thought it wasn't typical. It respected the character. Okay, it's a pass to the torch. Nope, torch doesn't need to be passed. There's one Indy, and that's Indiana Jones.
Mhm.
And like for all the reasons you mentioned, and it was a fun last adventure that had a big enough scope that didn't feel like a letdown to me. I like the artifact that is part of archaeology. There's plenty of History Channel shows,
There's like
episodes
20 or
that
30
showcase
seasons
the
of
same
Ancient
thing.
Aliens.
So to say that this is so out of the blue, it's not. It's maybe people, you don't want to like it, fine. That's different taste, but it is part of archaeology, the big part of it. And I don't want to see another religious. When you did the Holy Grail, what other religious artifact can you go after that?
A Spear of
I mean,
Destiny. It's like, well, they can't do that
Yes, they did
because
that
Noah
comic.
Wiley and the librarian beat him to it.
And they did that in comic book form. And
Yeah.
but it would have just been in comparison with the Holy Grail. To me, it made it different. It wasn't a carbon copy. And
I'm glad they didn't do the Genesis Deluge. It was a decent book, but I don't want to see Indy try to find Noah's Ark in a movie. I don't think that would be exciting
Nah.
enough.
Indiana Jones and the Ten
No.
Commandments.
Hey, weren't there commandments in the Ark of the Covenant? He already
There
found
was.
some of
That's
them.
where they were supposed to be. So, yeah, close enough. But I think also the fact that you had the same people that worked on all the movies probably
Steven
helped
Spielberg.
too.
As much crap as I give Spielberg, you know, for what he did with Poltergeist and what he did with Night Skies and what he did with Rick Baker, He's a really talented director, and he did a great job with this movie, just like he did a great job with the other 3 films. I think it's honestly probably the last live action film he directed. I thought he did a great job with. I know other people will say there's other movies he did later on. Those historical epics and some of this other stuff, but I don't think it's nearly as good in terms of when it comes to all the different moving parts as this movie is. Like, there's some moments in this, rewatching this in 4K for the first time in like forever, and for the first time in 4K, was quite the experience. I mean, it just made me appreciate so much of the hard work that went into building the sets for this movie even more. It was that was one of the things that really stood out to me when I saw it in the theater, and then seeing it in this good of definition made me appreciate it even more, because I'm like, man, I miss this. I miss this so much. Like, when it comes to the scenes where Indy and Mutt and pals or going to the ruins and whatever, that was all done for real. There was no CGI. That wasn't behind a green screen. Some of it looks like they might have actually shot on location, like at actual ruins. And then in some instances, they just built it. And you just can't fake, the real thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's just one of those things where,
You can't
real
get
is
more
real,
than
and
real.
yeah, you can't get more real than real.
And I think it's one of the last movies that used a lot of practical effects before CG took completely over. It's from that weird era where they were trying to transition. It's like, okay, do we do this CG thing, or do we keep doing it the way that we were doing it? They should have kept doing it the way they were doing it. That's just my opinion, but
Yeah, they should have had CG be something that, you use if there's stuff that you can't replicate or do effectively with practical effects. But they decided to just use it for everything. It became a lazy crutch for studios to just lean on. Oh, we don't need to spend all this money on building sets and doing all this other stuff. We can just do it in post. And, it's also led to stunts not being done unless it's Tom Cruise and his crazy ass in Mission Impossible movies,
or John Wick. That's about it.
or an independent movie like Kane Hodder doing his own stunts because he's
Still,
a badass.
At 60 some years old.
Yeah, and he's still a badass.
What, since off topic, did he choke anybody at the event that you went
No,
to?
I don't remember. There was this drunk asshole after the show who was just being a belligerent dickhead, and I was hoping it didn't happen, but it would have been great if Kane like spoke up and was it's basically like, hey, shut the fuck up or I'll come over there.
Yeah, he should have.
And I'll
yeah.
throw you out myself.
That's right. He should have. I don't think anybody would have had a problem with that.
Would have been a crowd pleasing moment. Might have gone viral.
There
Just
we go.
grab the guy by his fucking throat. Toss his ass out of the theater.
Yeah. People complained he can't do that anymore, which sucks. But when I met him, he choked me, so I felt honored. I was like, great.
Yeah, I agree, Jedizilla. I think Crystal Skull is better than the Star Wars sequel trilogy. Hands down.
Yep. I don't that is like night and day. Like, really? People think that the sequel trilogy is better than the Crystal Skull? Really? Like, did you watch the sequel trilogy for Star Wars?
I still haven't seen the third film because I hated The Last Jedi that much.
You ain't missing much.
This film has been criticized,
of course,
for its portrayal of Native people. What are your thoughts of the criticisms of this nature?
Because of one scene?
Because Native people don't exist, I guess.
it's one of those things where it ties into the adventure spirit of the original series. Are people complaining about the natives and raiders when they're chasing after Indy, and he needs to get in on the plane to escape? If
Are
they're
they
not doing that, then they shouldn't be complaining about what's happening in Indy 4. And honestly, people should just stop complaining, period. It's a fucking movie. Sit down, shut up, stop whining, stop bitching, stop talking about how offended you are, and just turn your brain off and enjoy the fucking movie. Seriously.
No more whining, no more complaining.
What's offensive about the portrayal?
Because
Like,
you know
what
you
is
have the
This is news to me.
you have the natives that were hiding, you know, in the crawl spaces and whatever, and they're savages or what, you know, so on and so forth.
But there are savages who will eat you.
There still is. In 2023, there still is people like that.
And eat bugs and stuff. I'm not talking about the stupid Nicole Kim and them eating bugs, just celebrities are stupid. I'm talking about there are people, there are natives out there. Like, people don't think they exist. They think it's as fake as what dinosaurs.
Fabio, you got a hater on
fake.
here. You got a hater in the chat.
There's always one.
And this guy is hilarious. It's a political hater. His username is Fabio Hates Liberals.
I mean, I do. That's not a lie.
He's like, do you like this film because it has a white male beating down on a female trying to come up in the same profession?
Yeah, white males. White man.
I'm taking care of it. Just don't give them any mind. That's what they want.
I know. I just thought it was funny. I wanted to just briefly mention it because that was hilarious.
You're good. But the other thing is, like, are people going to complain about Temple of Doom? Like, oh my god, that's so offensive. I'm like, it takes place.
Oh, people already did. People
it takes
already
place
have.
in India in the 1920s. Like, what are you fucking?
The 30s, yeah,
the 30s. Yeah. I'm sorry. Like, what are you talking about? There's still people now that live there like that. Like, this is not you're stupid.
Boom.
Right.
Boom. It's a silly adventure movie, not a documentary.
Exactly.
Frame my frame. Of course it's this fucking movie.
Is that even a question? Is that even a question? K through 12. The hell out of here.
People complain about the CGI ants, but how could that have been? Why did they complain? That ants look good.
Yeah, because
the ants look really good for 2000.
They're gonna get the ant wrangler. All right, guys, I need you to eat that guy and kill him. All right, action, go. Yeah, sure, because you can control ants to do that.
Yeah,
it's.
People complain about an older, less attractive Karen Allen, and no one said a peep about old Leia.
Karen Allen still looked great, and I hate to say she did look better than no disrespect to Carrie Fisher, but
and she did more. She looked better in the film too, not just
she didn't fly like Mary Poppins.
But in terms of what she was given to do in the movie.
That's what they'll do. They'll remake Mary Poppins with Karen Allen. I'll watch it.
I disagree with that. I think the last half is fine. I still enjoy the last half.
The whole movie is fine.
One of the only issues is, some of the cheeky stuff they try to do with the monkeys and whatever and so on, but they did that in Temple of Doom.
I don't get what people's problems are with Shia LaBeouf. I've never had that much of a problem. I like Disturbia. I like Eagle Eye. I like him in this.
I don't think it's because
Eagle Eye
acting.
Is so underrated. That is such an underrated.
I think it's because he's a lunatic.
Eagle Eye.
Well, even before when this film was coming out, they were like everything he did. They was like he's the worst. He's the worst. And I'm like, have you seen some of the films we've seen in terms of acting?
Did you watch Even Stevens on the Disney Channel?
Yeah, he definitely improved quite a bit from Even Stevens. That's for sure. Yeah, I liked him in the Transformers films. A lot of people did.
The first
when those movies came out.
If there's an issue with him, and that's the writing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The writing, the
Yeah,
Transformers.
from what I
films are
remember,
fine.
all this negativity
You can't fix a bad script.
towards the movie didn't heat up fully until the South Park clips. Yeah.
Yeah, because people think South Park is the gospel truth, which is weird.
And like Fabio
you know,
said, you can't fix a bad script.
can't
And
fix a
the
bad
Transformer
script.
films,
I don't agree with that
those are
total
pretty bad
meltdown.
scripts.
I agree that
agree.
I agree that Indy 4 is underrated, but Death Wish 5, not
I
so
like
much.
I like Death Wish 5.
That's cool.
Exploding soccer balls, poison cannolis. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. I mean, come on now.
Oh my God, we disagree, so I guess we hate each other.
That's not it wasn't
that's a
actively
troll. Don't
degrading
bother.
the culture.
They're just a troll.
It's a troll. It's a person trying to get you to talk about them. It ain't worth it.
As much as I love South Park, they were wrong about this movie. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
I like Jack Thompson. What's K through 12? A sequel to K-19 with Harrison Ford and Liam Neeson? And K-19 was a better movie than K through 12.
No. Like Harrison Ford said in like an interview, there is no other Indiana Jones. Like
they tried that with Han Solo and it didn't work.
Yeah, the Solo prequel and lost money.
That's why I don't get why they think, oh, we're just going to do Indiana Jones with a different actor and then it'll do just as well. They did that with Solo and it bombed.
They don't get it. They got all this money and no brains. They don't get it.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't that bad. Unlike Disney Star Wars, at least the film has a good send off to the characters. Exactly. It didn't it actually showed Indy reuniting with Marion. It didn't have, sequences where you have Luke and Leia and Han, but they're never in the same scene together. It even did a good job, having a bit of a tribute to Brody and a tribute to his dad.
And then Mark Hamill said something about that. Then he got yelled at.
Yeah, probably because all of the audience members for K-12 were all fans of that singer, and just spamming the audience.
Live on TikTok.
I don't know what this weird obsession is with this K through 12. I don't get it.
Have you seen that movie?
Unfortunately, I have. It was a paid
I've seen it too.
It was a paid request.
It was a paid request for me too a while back. Yeah.
It's frame by frame's fault.
I know. Blame frame by
frame. You do
well.
Yeah. I mean that's a fair, he's kind of there.
I think he's a good actor. Like I said, I never had an issue like other people did. Eagle Eye, Disturbia, this movie. I can name a dozen worse actors. I mean, I think what the hell?
To be honest, name? Chris Hemsworth outside of Thor, not very good.
No,
pretty bad.
Extraction is pretty good.
He's very limited.
I may have heard he's good in Extraction, but I haven't seen that yet. But when it comes to everything else that I've seen him in, other than in Extraction, terrible. Vacation.
It's just bad scripts. And the
Black Hats.
Black Hat was so disappointing. Like, come on,
Mission Impossible, not Mission Impossible. Men in Black. MI.
Close enough.
Got me confused.
Yeah. MIB, not MI.
Yeah. Ghostbusters, the 2016 movie.
Yeah, they praise a lot of stupid stuff.
What do you think directors can learn from Indy 4 on how to create momentum and tension in a film of its sort?
Well, when Spielberg was worth a shit, those were the things that he was known for. Not now.
Yeah.
Not the.
Although I did like Tintin.
The West Side Story.
I will say Tintin. That was fun. The Adventures of Tintin.
Mm-hmm. But every classic Spielberg movie has tension and momentum. Jaws, Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Duel.
It does a good job with the MacGuffin in terms of where it is, and then the whole stuff with the Russians and them trying to get to Indy and Indy and Mudd are trying to stay one step ahead of them. The atom bomb scene, for a lot of the crap that it gets, it does a great job building tension. And yeah, it's a film that has consistent momentum. Like, it was never boring. I was never bored once. Like, an hour went by and it felt like it was 30 minutes.
And the scene when they're going over each waterfall, it's funny. Yeah. It's supposed to be funny. Yeah. People get over it. And they go over one. Oh, that wasn't so bad. Oh, nope, there's another one. Oh,
yeah, I laughed my ass off at that. I thought it was hilarious.
God.
Because of not just because of the situation and the scenario, but because of the reactions from the cast.
Mm-hmm.
And you have Ian Holm, I think that's who it is, and he's doing his whole like
John Hurt.
John Hurt.
Mm-hmm.
They're got him too mixed up. Got Kane mixed up with the robot Ash. But yeah, John Hurt and this whole like there's three. I forgot the exact line of dialogue, but it basically was like there's
everything comes in threes. That's right.
Everything comes in threes.
But the best line of the movie is, "Why the hell didn't you make him finish school?"
Indiana Jones 5 will be worse than Abraxas Guardian of the Universe. I don't know.
I'd rather watch Abraxas.
That's kind of a tall order, with the jazz music soundtrack. And the acting talents of Jesse Ventura and Sven Thorson,
and Jim Belushi. Well, Jim Belushi is the only good thing about it.
I forgot he was in that. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Man, he must have been really desperate for money.
Or they paid him a lot of money.
Good point. You can criticize the film's portrayal of a real group of people, but still like the film. The two things aren't mutually exclusive. But I don't know. I don't know if it was really criticizing the portrayal of a real group of people.
So do you criticize Raiders of the Lost Ark then?
It seems like it was a fictional group of people.
It was.
Like, these weren't actual real.
It's not real
natives or anything.
Like Raiders of the Lost Ark. So I guess they criticize that as well.
Or Temple of Doom.
Sorry that people butthurt.
Because they need something to complain about.
Thank you, though, Dollar Boy, for the super chat, though.
Trolla Boy.
Give more dollars. Give more dollars.
Ray Winstone was better in this than in Black Widow. Yeah. Well, I haven't seen Black Widow, but I wouldn't be surprised. I did like him. I didn't like the whole back and forth stuff, though, where he's working for the Russians.
He's a triple agent.
He's a triple agent.
But it's Ray Winstone. You can't dislike that man.
Rather watch Crystal Skull over any of the new Marvel movies. I mean, after watching Crystal Skull again, I haven't seen a lot of the new Marvel movies. In fact, the last one I saw that's, I guess, somewhat new, but it's not really, was Captain Marvel, and I hated that. Captain Harmful. I call it Captain Harmful because it's harmful to your health.
Of course.
And no, this is not Spielberg's worst film, like someone said in the chat. This is not Spielberg's worst film.
No,
I think this is miles better than Ready Player One
or The Lost World.
Yeah.
The Lost World. Watch this in AI. The Lost World. You could tell that Steven actually gave a shit directing this movie. Like, he had fun. And you could see it on the screen.
Unlike The Lost World.
In The Lost World, he completely lost interest in that movie like halfway. And he even admitted it. He's like,
he did admit it. Yeah. He said, I did not want to make that movie. And
why do you think Indy 5 is an unnecessary sequel from frame by frame? Does it undermine the finality of the plot of the original?
Yes.
When you mean the original, do you mean 4 or do you mean Raiders of the Lost Ark?
I think it probably means like, the first film or, just the franchise as a whole.
Okay. Well, I mean, it is because at this point, it's not genuine. I think Indy 4 was genuine. Now it's like, everything else got a sequel. Why can't we do this? Why can't we try to make more money, and we clearly run out of ideas. Indy 4 again was genuine. It's like, okay, let's see if this works. And it,
they waited,
opinion,
and it was a long time in the making. Like, there were multiple different scripts. There's multiple different things that were being bandied about and thought of over the years, and they couldn't really kind of pin one down where they thought that it was just going to work. And David Coep, I think, did his Saucer Men from Mars draft, and then had a couple other people come in and do a little bit of some rewrites. And then they thought, it's been long enough. Harrison's getting up there in age. Like, Indy, like, all of the backing for the film, all of the advertising, all of the hype, it felt like this was the last one. It really did feel like it was a genuine sort of, this is it. There aren't going to be any more. We're doing one last Indiana Jones movie while Harrison Ford is still here and still in good enough shape. And you kind of felt that throughout the entire movie. Like, this was a love letter to the franchise. This was a love letter to the fans. This was a nice little send-off to Indiana Jones.
But it's muted.
Where Dial of Destiny feels like it's a cash-in. It really does.
No, he's coming Friday.
Okay.
It's like
it
a
is.
total cash-in. From what you see in the trailer, let's try to hinge upon a gimmick of de-aging Indy and time travel, and hey, remember, like, Indiana Jones in the 30s? You love that stuff, right? Well,
cool.
We're doing it again.
All right.
Yeah, it's one of those things where that was a time where they wanted to bring back one last bit and see what we can do. This is literally Disney wanting more money because they're losing a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
The theme parks are not doing as well as they wanted. They've lost more money since, like, the worst year they've had since, 1970 something. Now, yeah, I know those figures were not in specifically, but I guarantee they knew some kind of writing was on the wall because of the reception of the Star Wars sequels. Remember the plan? They were going to do like 3 movies a year or something, or 2 movies a year.
Yeah,
they cut that back a lot.
They were going to do more TV shows. Now I think they're just going to stick with the Mandalorian, and that's probably a smart move. Like, I don't think there's going to be season 2 of Obi-Wan, and from what I've heard about Obi-Wan, it doesn't deserve one. I don't think there needs to be a season 2 of Book of Boba Fett, because that sounded like a book of just straight up ass
with the Power Ranger bikes.
Yeah, the Power Ranger
bike. Again, these idiots have all this money and no brains.
It's like Rambo 5. Rambo 4 came out, I think, the same year as Indy 4, right? 2008?
Yeah,
They both come out the same year. And
Rambo 4 is January 2008.
They were good send-offs to these iconic characters and these franchises. Things kind of came full circle in some ways. And then the 5th one was like, oh, hey, these sequels are making money, so let's do another one.
Sly wanted a movie in the theater because his films were going straight to video, streaming.
Money. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that was he was choosing terrible films. Like, why are you choosing to do Escape Plan 2 and 3?
Because they paid him a lot of money.
I guess so. But, like, was he really that desperate for money? And I know Harrison Ford.
I don't think he was desperate. I just think he just wanted the paychecks, like Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis, before his health got bad, he wasn't desperate for money. They were just easy paychecks, and he said, "Fuck
it's like Steven Seagal. Steven Seagal just started shooting everything in Romania because it's like, well, they love me here, and I make all this money,
and they pay me $3 million a movie, easy money." That's all.
Disney lost over 120 billion in 2022.
Damn.
Good.
This is another question by Frame. How has Steven Spielberg fallen off direction and writing wise? Compare this to, say, a more modern Spielberg project like Ready Player One. Now, I know some people in the chat have mentioned The Fabelmans. They saw it and they thought it was really good. I haven't seen the movie, so I can't really say much about it.
Well, Ready Player One, I mean, I didn't hate the film, but I feel it was an old guy trying to figure what the young kids were into. while this was more of his wheelhouse because of knowing more about the old serials and even the 50s, even knowing more about sci-fi because of Close Encounters and the films he's done.
Mm-hmm.
I think Spielberg felt more comfortable, while this was, it's based on a book. What are the cool kids? What do they like? What's the stuff they
Yeah.
like? They like this and that. Let's throw all these. That movie is more about the pulp culture Easter eggs than a story or
Yes.
the characters.
Because there's a lot
Because
of
name
stuff in
mainly about
that.
the lead character.
There's a
Name
lot of
5
stuff
things
in
about
that
the lead
film
character.
where it's just one of those like, oh, you got to pause it when you get it on Blu-ray just to see how many little Easter eggs are in there. Like RoboCop's in there somewhere. I'm like, okay, cool. All
RoboCop's in
right.
'87 movie. You
I'll
watch
just
that.
watch
Yeah.
RoboCop. But
This
I
actually
bet Indiana
had
Jones is probably
decent
in there.
probably.
story. The characters work in this, unlike Ready Player
Yeah.
One. Like, I defy anyone to mention anything about the characters in Ready Player One.
They're generic.
It's a big part of stories.
Generic
No,
guy
and-
and generic girl.
No one talks about that movie anymore, so there you go.
What is the best aspect of Steven Spielberg's direction, and what is the worst aspect of his direction? I think one of the best aspects of Spielberg's direction, like Fabio was mentioning, is definitely how he builds tension visually. But I also think one of the best aspects of his direction is just showcasing grand visuals.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's one of the best directors that has ever lived when it comes to just showcasing like the best you could possibly get out of a action sequence, or the best you can get out of a scene of wonder or awe or spectacle. He's up there with James Cameron and some of those other directors when it comes to those kind of moments in cinema. I mean, there are better there. I would say maybe there are directors when it comes to action, martial arts or some of these other sort of things that are maybe better than Spielberg in terms of like showing every step and every each movement, and the fluidity of it all and capturing the fight choreography. But I still think Spielberg is a master when it comes to just thrilling the audience and doing it with his lens. When it comes to his worst aspect, I think sometimes he can kind of linger on things a little bit too much.
Mm-hmm.
Shots can kind of be a little too extended, especially when he's trying to do more dramatic stuff. I don't think his dramatic work, even though he's done really good jobs with some of his dramatic films, I don't think it's nearly as effective as his sci-fi movies or his adventure films or the suspense films like Jaws. I think a lot of that stuff is more his wheelhouse and more where he's at his best than the dramatic stuff. I know a lot of people praise him for Schindler's List and some of this other stuff, and I think he, and Saving Private Ryan, and I think he does a good job with those movies. But I just feel like when it comes to his direction as a whole, like it just seems like his energy and just the kind of things that he does with the camera are just so much more dynamic when he's working with action or working with something that is out of this world. I mean, even in Saving Private Ryan, like the best moments are really the battle scenes, and really the best moment is the entire opening sequence when it comes to his direction.
How you feel, Fabio, about where Spielberg has gone from like to Ready Player One era, and also this question here, how you feel about that?
Well, again, I think his best from a technical standpoint is the shots, because using wide lenses to show depth and to show everything in the frame. Like if you watch Jurassic Park, you could see everything in the shot. Not, oh, look, there's the tire. Let's focus on the tire. No, like you see the car, you see his oh, we got to go. Like it's going to kill us. So yeah, most directors now don't do that. You look at Jaws, especially the scenes when they're out at sea. You could see everything. That's pun intended. But you see the water, you see the boat, you see the shark moving. People don't focus on that anymore. But the worst is, like Mike said, a lot of times he just focuses on one thing too much. It's like, ooh, look at me. Look what I could do. Look, I did this. I did that. It's like, okay, cool. We get that. But we don't need, like in Schindler's List, the little girl in the red coat just popping up every 26 minutes just to show something. Like, okay, we get it. Like, this is horrible. People are dying. This is real. Like, we get that. Okay, let's move on.
What about you, Matt?
Oh, I mean, I don't know about overall. I would say Spielberg, for me, what he does the best is how he handles his actors and how he handles his cast. When you look at the cast members on Jaws and the way they interact with each other, when you look at even Richard Dreyfuss' performance in Close Encounters and getting a performance out of him, there's a sense of wonder that you felt probably back then about taking that plunge to go up to wherever it might be. To even here with how he handles the father-son relationship, which I thought he did a rather good job, bringing Karen Allen back and those sparks erupting again. The way he handles the characters in the first Jurassic Park between the wisecracking Jeff Goldblum and Sam Neill is a bit more serious. He does a great job handling his cast and having the characters kind of work together as a unit. For usually, especially with older actors, or actors he's worked before, like Harrison Ford here.
Yeah.
I think he does a good job with that.
I think that's a big reason why Harrison and Karen in the film, they deliver such good performances despite having not played these roles in so long, because Spielberg is such a veteran when it comes to, working with this cast and getting the most out of them. And especially those two. He's already worked with them before. So it's kind of one of those things where it's kind of like a second homecoming in some ways, where it's like, oh, this is home. This isn't something that's too out of the ordinary. And Harrison in particular, like, yeah, he was good in acting wise in other films leading up to this, but you got to think about how long it has been, how long it was since Last Crusade. Like that came out in 1989. This came out in 2008. It was quite a long time period in between both films. And we've seen this a lot, where an actor who is talented and who does a great job playing a certain iconic character, and they'll come back and it's been like 20 years and their performance isn't nearly as good. And I never really felt that way with Harrison in Indy 4. It was almost like he just stepped right back into the role.
Dumb and Dumber 2.
Great example. And Jeff Daniels, both of them.
Not a fan of that one guy.
I don't think anyone is.
I don't know as for worst aspect, I don't know. I guess for me, I can only do that film by film. This, I think he could have fought harder to limit the CGI in terms of I like the jungle sequence, but I think that could have been more practical location during the car chase.
I think there was a good amount of practical in that scene, but I think you could have at least cut out the monkey stuff and, because that is a bit distracting, when it comes to that sequence. And there are some things in that are definitely more behind a green screen, but I think a lot of that might have been maybe a safety thing, like with the sword fighting and whatever. But you can do stuff like that for real. I mean, Mask of Zorro is a prime example of that. Yeah, that's so sad. Indy 6, they'll be digging Indy up. It kind of ties into this. Yeah, he does. Yeah, for Fabio.
Had a question for Fabio, asking why does he think Spielberg went more for CGI? Do you think it was quicker, cheaper, something to that sort?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not cheaper and it's not quicker, because most of that's done offset. So you have to pay for the facilities, you have to pay the people to do it, and it's not cheap. That's what people don't realize, and it's not easier. But I think it's because he was one of the people that broke through with it, like with Jurassic Park, and it's like, oh, well, I can do this at the time, not anyone else could do it. It was only him and James Cameron. So it's like, well, let me show people what I can do. Yeah, I think it became a crutch because if you look at pretty much every movie he did after that, it's started to go more in that direction of more CG and more CG.
He even did a
more
completely
CG.
CGI animated movie in Tintin.
He did, yeah.
Which I think you could have done live action, and it probably could have been every bit as good. But it was still. I think I'm still honestly glad that he did that movie though, because that was a new challenge for Spielberg. Like he had never directed anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought his signature style, his way of shooting action, and the way that he incorporates a lot of fun comic book style energy actually fit Tintin very well. And when I watched that for the first time, like a couple years ago, I was really surprised by it. I really enjoyed it. And I was honestly kind of bummed that it didn't do well enough, that we didn't get more Tintin movies. I got another super chat from Bobby. Thank you. Top 9 favorite films of 2008: Rambo 4, Indiana Jones 4, Cloverfield, Incredible Hulk, Iron Man, Bedtime Story, Bolt, Wall-E, Dr. Seuss, Horton Hears a Who. Pretty good list. I would probably number 1. Yeah, number 1 and 2 probably. I'd have to look at that list of 2008 films again, but that would probably be very close to where I would have like my top 2. The Incredible Hulk, I think, I'm glad that somebody's putting it high on their list because I think that film is probably the most underrated Marvel movie. Because a lot of people say it's generic and it's forgettable and it's this and that, and I'm like, I don't really think it's that way at all. I think it's actually pretty solid. I'd rather take it. I take it over the Dark World.
Giving people tacos.
I take it over Iron Man 3, and it actually feels like a genuine Hulk movie. And I thought Edward Norton was just excellent. And it's a shame that they didn't keep him, but I get why, because he wanted to control creative too much.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at,
but he was right. Look what they did.
True, he was right.
He was right.
If you look at the changes that he made to Incredible Hulk, they were good changes to the script. Like they weren't bad changes. So he kind of knew what he was doing.
Marvel did not. And that was
the way. And then the way they treated him for no reason. I get why he didn't want to come back.
Yeah, I will take Edward Norton's Hulk. Yep. Even though he was only in one movie, over what Mark Ruffalo did.
Yep. I just rewatched that again, and it still holds up.
Yeah, if you want to know what Mark Ruffalo did, just watch She-Hulk.
Yeah.
And I don't mind Mark Ruffalo. He can be a good actor. Like I thought he was great in Zodiac. He was really good in that. But I'm not.
He became a bit of a cuck.
Yeah, I'm not super big on his Hulk, and I think a lot of it's due to the writing. It's not necessarily 100% Mark's fault, because initially in the Avengers and the initial introductions to him, he wasn't too jokey, wasn't too much of a joke. But then as things got further on, then his Hulk, like Ragnarok and everything after that, his Hulk just turned into an absolute joke. And even in Ragnarok, there were some moments of Hulk, though. Like that whole stuff in the end. But then after that, from what I've heard, it's kind of embarrassing for Hulk. And definitely the clips that I've seen of She-Hulk, where She-Hulk is just beating him and, throwing him around and, being better than him. But yeah, Frame by Frame asks thoughts on why Harrison Ford is such a good action star and what many action stars lack today. Charisma, that's a big part of it. He has a genuine amount of personality. You really are glued to the screen when you see him, whether he's playing a fun character like Indiana Jones, who will say some wisecracks every now and then, give a little smirk or wink to the camera, and as well as a bunch of punches to the bad guys. But he's also really good when it comes to playing more serious roles, more characters like his character in The Fugitive, people that you root for, and you are drawn to. And I think a lot of what action stars lack today is that. A lot of them lack that inherent charisma and that personality and, that movie star quality that separates, genuine movie stars from any other, regular actor. And I think there's a lot of that in these Marvel movies. And I'm not taking anything away from these actors or these actresses who play these roles, but I actually think one of the was it Scorsese or was it Tarantino or somebody who recently said that these Marvel movies don't really have
Tarantino.
stars.
It was Tarantino.
They're
Well, both of them
it's
said it.
it's
both of
the it's the characters. It's Captain America. It's not necessarily Chris Evans, even though Chris Evans does a really good job playing that character. It's a similar sort of thing that happened with the Bond films. But I know some people try to argue that that's the same with Indiana Jones, but I don't feel that way. Because Indiana Jones, to me, it's a character that is inherently Ford with the mannerisms, with the way that he handles the character. It's so deeply tied into Ford as a person and Ford when it comes to his ability as an actor. It's the same thing with John McClane. Like there's no one else that I think can be John McClane other than Bruce Willis. Now that Bruce Willis is retired from acting, no more Die Hard films.
Please.
No reboot, no sequel, no prequel, no anything.
No.
After Indy 5, which we don't need anyway, but after it's over, no more Indiana Jones movies. You want to do another video game? Fine. You want to do a animated series? That'd be cool. But no more live action films.
Please.
Because Indiana Jones is a character that was brought to life on the screen by Harrison Ford. It's not the same as James Bond, because James Bond was a character in books and whatever prior to any of the movies. And that's the same thing with the comic book characters. They all existed in the comics.
Exactly. I also think because you don't have this anymore either is Harrison Ford has that everyman quality.
Yes.
People don't have that anymore. Whether it's a quote unquote action star or whoever, people don't have that. Everyone looks like a Superman.
Keanu was the closest.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, Keanu Reeves is the last one, but yeah, Harrison Ford.
Because Tom Cruise, he does all his stunts and everything, but he's not an everyman.
No, he's a pretty boy.
He's not an everyman. I got to be honest. I love Tom Cruise,
he's nuts.
Except for, the Scientology stuff. But he's not your typical everyman. He's not like Gene Hackman when Gene Hackman was starring in movies, who looks like he could be your grandfather.
Right. And
Harrison
Ford can actually act too, unlike other people. So,
how would you rate Cate Blanchett's acting? What made her a compelling female character, and what are writing's missing when it comes to writing female villains today? She's one of the weaker aspects of Crystal Skull for me, and it's not really necessarily Cate Blanchett's fault. I think the script doesn't really give her as many big, grand moments as some of these other villains that you've seen in either the Indiana Jones films or in some of the other action films. And I think Cate Blanchett is very capable of it. I thought she had some moments where she was genuinely intimidating. It was cool to see her wield a rapier and a sword. But I don't think she was as compelling.
I didn't mind her. I did think her accent was a little bit pushing it too much, maybe.
Yeah.
With the Russian accent. But I didn't mind her as much as others.
It's like I didn't hate her or anything. I just felt like in comparison to like Belloc or some of these other villains, I don't think she was really as compelling. But I would say she was just about as compelling as Donovan and Last Crusade. Like Donovan wasn't really that compelling of a villain. Like this old rich white guy. Like really, if you think about it, like he's not really that compelling of a villain.
He's one of those that worked for what they needed to do.
Exactly.
It was more about the lead character family unit and the quest.
And you could say that Cate Blanchett worked for what they were trying to do as well.
How do you feel about Kate Blanchett, Fabio?
She's okay. I mean, I like her as an actress, but yeah, the accent got a little annoying, to be honest. I think maybe they could have toned it down a little bit, but she served her purpose. She did fine for what she had to work with. I don't know if it just was like that by design, or they made changes, or they kind of, as they went along, tried some different things, but she's okay.
I didn't do anything with that because they gave you money, so I figured maybe they'll give more money. So
That's what I love about these idiots.
Hey, thank you, Melina. Melina fan.
Oh my
I don't even know
we're
who
praising-
that is.
We're praising Harrison because we're talking about a film that he was in. We're not really talking about
White
Emilio
man.
Martinez.
You're probably
But
white too, so you're
to be
stupid.
fair, I did not like K-12. I thought the film was not that great. Did have an interesting visual style, and
Oh, that's who that is. I
you
figured
know,
who
I'm
the
not
hell
a
that
super big
the
fan of
team is
Melina's
was.
music, but I've definitely heard some people who are singers nowadays that are way less talented and 10 times worse. So I'll give you that.
If you like the film, you're wrong.
There we go.
I'm not gonna go there. Different
I'll
opinions.
take the heat for that.
Different
I'll take the
opinions
heat
are
for that.
definitely what keeps this world interesting. But
I'll take the heat for that. If you like
Give
the
me-
film,
I
you're
agree
wrong.
with that. I agree with that, Neo. Nobody
Give me
should
Pink
ever.
Floyd's The Wall any day.
Nobody else should be playing Ash other than Bruce Campbell.
Yes, agreed. Not Evil Dead
I guess-
Rise, which is the
Oh
rejected,
God,
the
yeah,
rejected
Jack.
Halloween
Oh
2
man,
script.
Diamond Dogs.
Ugh.
You want to talk about a dog of a
Ugh.
movie? Diamond Dogs.
Yeah, that movie sucked.
Yeah,
That movie sucked.
I forgot
And
that
then-
movie existed.
And then Dolph directed it, but he didn't direct it, but he didn't get credit. And then he did his own cut, and then his cut isn't the one that got released. And then they were going to do a trilogy, and I'm like, okay.
They were gonna do a Diamond Dogs trilogy.
Yes, they were planning on doing a trilogy, and then because no one watched the first one, they didn't make any more, and then the funding fell through, and
That's hilarious.
then
Well, I mean,
they-
aren't there multiple Stash House movies? So I guess I guess
well,
that
they've
could
all been
be the
bad. All the
case.
ones that I've seen with Stash House in the title were not good. So it's just like any movie that has Annihilation in the title. None of them are good.
Oh yeah, American Ninja 4, Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat.
Doom Annihilation, yeah.
I
Mhm.
forgot that it was called Doom Annihilation.
Yeah, most people forgot.
Sweepers is actually decent though. Like Sweepers, I didn't mind. It was kind of fun.
Yeah, that's a good Dolph movie.
I
We
like
get
it.
Yeah,
Indy 5,
seriously.
Expendables 4, and
Seriously.
Fast 10. Oh my god.
Can't wait. Cannot wait.
Told you.
I'm gonna go to the theater now and buy tickets.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah,
duh.
Crystal Skull is so much better than Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. I watched that when I was doing the Mummy reviews, and I forgot how shitty that film was. I was like, wow, this is so bad. And Mummy Returns gets crap, and I'm like, Mummy
Yeah.
Returns is a good sequel. It's exciting,
has
it's got
its
great
issues,
action, and the issues are like relatively minor to me. Like there's bad CGI in that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
to be honest, the CGI in that is worse than the CGI in this movie, in Crystal Skull.
Oh yeah,
But
I
also,
agree with that.
Mummy Returns came out earlier, and like early 2000 CGI, like not really the best. Even some of the CGI in the Mummy from 1999 hasn't really held up the best,
Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, Jesus
and definitely a
Christ.
lot better than Tom Cruise's The Cummy.
with the
Yeah.
trailer that came
Big
out that
old-
had no dialogue.
Yeah,
it just
remember
had
that had
sound
no,
effects.
no sound effects and dialogue.
It's here on YouTube. Somebody put it up on YouTube. I love it. When I want to laugh, I watch it because it just makes me very happy that that's still on the internet.
That's like one
How
of
do
the few outliers with Tom Cruise lately. Is that movie? It's like
How do you
I
fuck
guess
that up?
I guess
Like,
not everything he touches turns to gold, because that definitely wasn't the case.
and
with
that's
Mummy.
another one. Yep, we're gonna do a whole franchise. And it's gonna be the Dark Universe. Yep, nobody watched it. Nobody watched The Wolfman.
Well, it doesn't really
Nope.
star The Rock. The Rock isn't
He's
really
in it
the
for
star of
5
The Mummy
minutes.
Returns.
He's in the movie for 5 minutes, and he got paid $5 million.
Hey, Jack, yeah, the
There we
order
go.
is the order's a fun one with Van Damme.
Good one.
The last old school Van Damme movie.
Ranking of all 4 Mummy movies. Number 1. I mean, I'm sorry. I just really like The Mummy Returns. I think the action set pieces in it are just awesome. Another example of great stunts and so on. So I give it a slight edge over the first film, even though I really, really like it. And so number 2 would be The Mummy, and then of course the third would be Dragon Emperor. And I don't know what you mean by 4. The Mummy is not really
Tom
the one
Cruise.
with Tom Cruise is
Like,
not
is it
connected
just
to that
mentioned?
franchise.
No,
but
it's
I
a
guess,
remake. It's a remake
but I
of a
would
remake.
put it last. I'd rather watch Tomb of the Dragon Emperor.
The only one I really like is the first one, so I guess Returns would be second, and then the other two I'd take flip because I don't like either one. One's a waste of Jet
Scorpion
Li,
King. Which
one's a
one?
waste of Tom Cruise.
But the Scorpion King's a spinoff. It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't
But, like-
say that Scorpion King because it's a spinoff.
No, but this is like a separate question.
Oh.
But I'm like, which Scorpion King? Aren't there
Yeah,
like
which
50 of those movies?
And then they're doing a remake.
Yeah.
I think I like Mummy Returns a little bit more because it seemed like they had more money to play with the action scenes. So yeah, I mean there is some really bad CGI.
Oh
but
yeah.
there's some really good practical set pieces.
And some of the writing, let's rehashing some elements from the first movie. Frame by frame, yes. What do you think makes Indy such a classic in the film world? So you mean just Indiana Jones films in general, or the character?
Well, I think one of the main reasons, especially the first 3, everything is practical. They did it all for real. And people, despite what people want to say, people love that and they miss it because that's what people want to see. Creativity and imagination.
Mm-hmm.
Not, oh, look, we did this on the computer. No, people don't care about that. It's the spectacle of what you can do. And people will bitch, oh, well, it's a matte painting. It's this, it's that. Okay, so I'd rather look at that because at least people put their time and their effort and their love into making that look as real as they possibly could.
I think they do that too in some aspects when people are doing CGI. There's a lot of people hard at work with that.
I'm not saying that they don't, but I just prefer practical.
Yeah, I do too. It's a different kind of thing. It's a different kind of art. And CGI art, it's not as personal. Seems like it's just not as personal as matte painting or model building or practical makeup effects or stunt work. I understand why we don't see as much actual stunts because of safety issues and whatever, and there's people that have died doing it, but I would rather see people do real stunts. I'm sorry, you can't top real stunts. Like people doing it for real. Like just look at the impact the Mission Impossible sequels have with Tom Cruise doing
But
all
here's
these
the thing
crazy
about
stunts
that.
for real.
There have been some of these CGI heavy films that people have passed still. It's because you need to either work more on safety or sadly you'd have everything planned, and when that many films are made per year, just by statistics, something bad is going to happen no matter what you do.
Because
sadly,
people get lazy and people get.
But also
complacent.
at the same time, with the stunts, like these were professionals. These were people who loved doing their job, and I feel bad that a lot of these people are getting phased out by computers because people are afraid that somebody's going to get hurt. And a lot of these stunt people was like, "That's my job. That's what I love doing."
You are going to get hurt. That's the reality of the situation. I don't think there's ever been a movie made where no one didn't get hurt. Just don't shoot people like Alec Baldwin.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus.
That'd be a word of no.
Yeah.
But as for the question, yeah, I mean, people enjoy those films because it's a reflection of brings the kid out of you. Even the fourth one does, where that sense of adventure that part of you wants to go on, but you can do in the safety of your own home. And people enjoy that type of adventure aspect ever since, we were kids. People like and enjoy, and it's something that many people can relate to. It's sort of a fantasy fulfillment. And
Yeah.
Indiana Jones really accomplished that with also the hard work that the stunt people and the John Williams as the composer and everybody put into all of this stuff to make them work.
Yeah.
And I mean, someone mentioned you want to talk about bad part fours, look at Matrix 4. Look at a lot of other some of these other actual bad later sequels. There's a lot
American
of good
Ninja
heart.
4.
Yeah, it was Super Ninja. And the bad guy who's
Please
like,
don't watch that movie, folks.
lick my feet.
Lick my
boots.
ass.
And Michael Dudikoff getting pissed because they told him Steve James was going to be in it, and then he wasn't.
And then the whole thing where David Bradley and Michael Dudikoff, they aren't even on the screen together.
Nope, because they didn't like each other.
Exactly. Probably because Michael Dudikoff was pissed because it's not Steve James.
Yep, that's what happened. He showed up at the hotel and he was banging on the producer's door and he's like, "You told me Steve James was going to be in this movie. Why isn't he here?" "Oh, yeah, we just told you that to get you to do the movie." "Oh, okay, cool." And
Wow.
then David Bradley got pissed because he's like, "Well, I'm the American Ninja now, not him." And it's like, "Oh, okay, I guess this will be interesting." So that's why they're not together, because they didn't get along.
I wonder why Michael Dudikoff didn't, because I read something on IMDb. It could be fake, but they were like, RoboCop 3. They almost asked Michael Dudikoff, and I'm like, what?
Somehow I doubt that. And then they wanted Michael Dudikoff to come back for American Ninja 5 because there's a poster. I've seen it with his face on it, and I'm like, well, he's not in the movie, so I don't know what happened.
Yeah. So what makes Indy such a classic in the film world for me?
I was going to ask Fabio one quick question. Where did you hear that story about the Dudikoff Steve James? Did he have an interview?
It was on. It was in the Go-Go Boys documentary.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I think it was in that. They
very cool.
Was that better?
It was
than
yes, it was better than Electric Boogaloo. Because Electric
Yeah.
Boogaloo, like even Sam Furstenberg told us, like, oh no, they wanted us to talk bad about the company.
Yeah.
No, like that's not the point. Yeah, it was in that. I think it's either that or one of the making ofs on the Blu-rays. But yeah, he's like, I knocked on the door at the hotel and I was like, well, where's Steve James? You told me he was going to be in the movie. And they were like,
yeah, it might be.
"Oh, no, we just told you that."
Maybe it's on one of the 88 films.
Yeah, I can't remember. It was either the Go-Go Boys or one of them. And he was like, yeah, that was fun. And then he's like looking through posters that he kept. And there's American Ninja 5, and it has his picture on. I'm like, oh, I've never seen that before. He goes, yep, I was supposed to do that movie too, and it never happened. Oh, look, Captain America, I was supposed to do that movie too.
I think he would have been better than Matt Salinger.
Yeah, with the fake ears.
And he doesn't know how to fight.
Right. And, well, we don't have any money, and we don't have any film in the camera. What are we supposed to do?
But I'm like, I don't even know why they cast Matt Salinger. Like, Michael Dudikoff's right there. He's already an established star for Canon.
He was supposed to. It was supposed to be Michael Dudikoff as Captain America.
Oh, yeah, for Canon, but then Canon went under.
Steve James was going to play Falcon, and Billy Drago was going to play Red Skull, and it never happened. I'm like, that's money on the table. People would actually want to watch that.
That actually might have made money in the theater. Seriously.
Yeah. Billy Drago as Red Skull? I'm in.
Yeah. But what do you think, and to answer Frame by Frame's question about Indy, it's a lot of the same things that Fabio and Matt already said, but I think one of the main reasons why is just the entertainment factor of watching this character, watching Indiana Jones solve these puzzles, watching Indiana Jones get involved in these action sequences, watch Indiana Jones and his friends stop the bad guys. It's a very simple sort of thing, but it's very effective. You see that with the Bond films. You see that with a lot of other franchises. A lot of it is about just watching an adventure and watching it unfold with characters that you love.
And it's
So I just let people
it's
mention
set
Chris
piece
Stuckman,
after
such a
set
dumbass.
piece after set
Yeah.
piece. Like he's okay. Oh, he survived. Oh, he's gonna die. Oh no, he survived it. Oh, this is gonna happen. Like
Yeah.
getting to
One
the
of my
next
favorite bits
action
like that
piece.
is in The Last
Yes.
Crusade. I love that moment where the tank goes off the cliff.
Mhm. And you're like, oh god,
Yeah.
he's dead. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there's still
And then
30
he-
minutes in the movie left. Like he can't die.
Like- But I mean, it's just the reactions from the other cast members, and they're like, oh,
and they're
all
looking.
sad.
What are y'all looking
They're
at?
looking down. Yeah, and then he's like back up there. It's like, what are you looking at?
And the hat, and then the hat shows back up, and it's like, yes. But
Harrison is such a badass. He would staple that hat to his
yeah,
head.
because it kept falling off. I love that trailer that they show him just stapling the hat. It's hilarious to me. But
Like, what modern movie star now? Like,
nope. Oh,
just
let's put
staple
this
hats
on
to their head?
Instagram. Oh, I signed a no disclosure. I can't. Oh my god, what's that mean? No. But it's
So, frame by frame.
It's the good writing. It's the
Mhm.
characters. It's actors that actually know how to act. It's people actually cared about making movies back then. Not let's make $1 billion. It's the love, and you don't have that anymore.
I think with somebody, for mentioning the $1 billion, I think for someone like Cameron, he loves technology. So I think that's the whole thing where his love and his passion is. It's technology, it's the advancements and, whatever. And it's not necessarily storytelling. This is not, even though I did like Avatar 2, it's not really the best script.
Well, he used to tell stories. And then the greed took over. Because if
now
you look
he's just showing demo reels.
Right.
I think that's really his main thing.
Terminator 1 and 2 was the story. Aliens, the story. Abyss, the story. Everything else, what can we do with computers? Oh, we could do this. We could do that. Look what we can do. Like, no. He used to be, even First Blood Part 2, even though that got completely rewritten, it was still about the story.
Yeah. It's the same thing with Spielberg. A lot of it's the visual stuff. But I think he's kind of going back to his roots with stuff like Fabelmans. I've heard that that's like a love letter to cinema. So I don't know.
But the whole thing about I feel bad about Jaws. Oh, shut up, dude. Jaws gave you.
I didn't know he said that. He did. What?
He did. He said I regret making Jaws because it killed sharks. I'm like, what? That doesn't make any sense. You're stupid.
It gave sharks a bad name. Or
Yeah.
something.
I'm like, okay. I'm like, sure. That's why after that movie came out, so many people became marine biologists. Okay.
Yeah.
Because of that movie. So what's going to be next? I feel bad about Jurassic Park because it killed dinosaurs, even though they were already dead.
I feel bad about Close Encounters because
because it gave aliens a bad rap.
It's a bad name. So Chris, this is another question from Frame by Frame. It says Chris Stuckman accused the film of being too bright and overblown in terms of its lighting to the point where it's distracting. No, I watched it in 4K. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Too bright and overblown.
That was the point. It was supposed to match the movies that it was emulating. The movies of the 50s are all bright and overblown. That's the point. They were trying to pay tribute. Just like in the older ones, they look a little darker because movies from that time period are darker. If you look at Frankenstein and Dracula, they're lit darker. That's the point. It's called a homage.
Yeah. But even then, I don't even think it was really distracting. And there were some moments where it did have shadows and it was dark, like when Mutt and Indy are going into the ruins and stuff like that. That wasn't shot in a way where it was too bright and it was blown out and so on. Like,
no.
Did he see the movie in a theater that had a bad bulb or something?
Maybe.
Like, what? I don't. What do you mean?
Nah, he was
too
having
bright and
flashbacks
overblown?
to his Jehovah's Witness meetings. He's having flashbacks to them. PTSD, Jehovah's Witness.
You know,
the power of Christ.
Chris Stuckman, I've never been a fan of. I know he's really popular. I know he's got tons of subscribers and so on.
Fucking
I've never-
sucks.
He's not a good filmmaker either. Like, have you seen his attempts at making movies? And I know he's doing a nut horror film. What happened to that? I haven't heard anything about that. It might have come out, and I don't give a shit.
I'd
That's
rather
probably
not
why
watch.
I didn't hear anything. But
I'd
he did
rather
like a
not
movie
watch.
that was like a ripoff of Drive with like no budget, and it was embarrassing.
This fucking
His
sucks.
hilariosity reviews are pathetic. Like, they're not even
Yeah,
funny.
he did one for like Hellbound with Chuck Norris. I'm like, how dare you?
And
Better than any movie he's made.
That's right.
And when it comes to his rise to fame, like from what I've read online, I know some people don't, buy with the fury of the film fan and what he said, but I don't know, a lot of stuff that he said on this blog years ago seems pretty legit. It seems like he flat out just hung around the right crowd for long enough, and it just led to him getting all these subscribers and all these supporters and everything. He didn't
Sounds like a lot of
necessarily do it all on his own, homegrown kind of stuff, which I have more respect for when it comes to a YouTuber who builds their audience that way.
Yeah, like Angry Video
That's
Game
the only
Nerd
time it
before
comes
he
out in
lost his
July.
mind. Okay.
Yeah, I
Don't see it.
disagree. I don't think Red Letter Media's reviews I think that's one of their worst videos. Their criticisms were
It
weak
is.
and not really that accurate. And so, in fact, some of them were like, "Did you watch the other 3 films before you did this video?" Because some of the criticisms were like, "Well, that was kind of present in those other films, or the other film kind of explains it."
You could say much of the worst things of Jar Jar Abrams' Star Trek movies. Easily about special effects and character and unrealistic and how silly it is.
Whatever, Chris. The stupidest thing you've ever seen in an Indiana Jones movie. It's every bit as dumb as any of the other stuff we already mentioned numerous times.
The stupidest thing. Okay, sure. Yeah, because there's just, again, cults in India that are ripping out people's hearts and setting them on fire and enslaving children, and right, because that's real.
But yeah, the Red Letter Media review, like I think their Star Wars prequel, reviews, those are good. But like the whole stuff with that, I mean, I just thought it was weak, and a lot of it was just repeating the same talking points, and I almost felt like they did that video just for views and ad revenue more than anything else.
Of course, because
It did.
the check has to clear for them.
Some weirdness. Short Round from Temple of Doom. Yeah, well, he was fine in Temple of Doom for a kid
fine
actor.
in The Goonies.
Yeah, but he turned out to be like a really good actor, which was a little surprising. Because in everything, everywhere, all at once, amazing.
He was always good to me. Just sadly, he didn't get a lot of roles, except that was a martial
He liked
arts
the Obi-Wan
one.
show.
Breathing
Okay.
Fire.
Breathing Fire. Yeah.
With Bolo. Bolo's in it.
He didn't do a whole lot of movies, maybe by choice. I don't know.
He did fight choreography for a while because he worked on the first X-Men. He was the fight choreographer.
That's right. I remember seeing that in the
Steven Seagal was he really trying to do an Indiana
Out
Jones
for a
thing?
kill.
No, he was just a archaeologist. He didn't wear the hat and like try to climb because his fat ass can't climb. So
I'm just imagining that Steven Seagal now, trying to do like an adventure movie.
Nope.
The only whip he has is whipping burgers in the frenzy.
The adventure is going to the store and picking out what hair dye he wants.
But it also would be one of those things where it's like, how is he gonna? He's not going to be able to do any of these stunts.
Nope.
So it'll be an obvious
dialogue.
He didn't do stunts 20 years ago, so
he's not going to be able to do the dialogue.
Yep, they'll dub it in.
Speaking of Chris Stuckman again from Frame by Frame, no vulnerability throughout the duration of the film. There wasn't a lot of vulnerability in the other 3 movies. Like, I honestly
What
think
do
there
you
was
mean
just
by
about
vulnerability?
there was just about as much vulnerability when it comes to Indiana Jones in this as there was in any of the other movies to me.
There was vulnerability in Temple of Doom. Willie, we are going to die. Like,
Well,
what
no,
do
he
you-
says that.
Yeah, what
Yeah, I mean, he says there's
what does
no
he mean by
vulnerability.
vulnerability?
I think what he means is like in Crystal Skull, Indy survives the fridge, does all this other stuff, gets in fights, whatever, and
But he literally showed.
handles.
We just mentioned the scene with the mannequin where he's freaking out and he's tumbling over the mannequins as being a human
Yeah.
moment.
Well, even
Did he
in the
just
fights,
not watch
even
that scene?
even in a lot of stuff like the warehouse scene where he whips and then he's like, oops, and then goes backwards. That's a bit of vulnerability because he's not automatically, hitting his
When he
target.
first sees Marion and he. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
He never feels he's in danger or in danger of being harmed. We just mentioned that.
I mean, even the whole stuff
What about
with the jet car, like there was a bit of vulnerability there because he just
What about the
all of a
quicksand
sudden
scene?
he's in the jet car and then it just goes off, and then
said
the entire
he doesn't get hurt a lot.
Scene.
Yeah, the quicksand scene.
He's not getting
Does
hurt
get
as
hurt
much.
a lot? Yes, he does.
Well, even if
he gets shot in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Well, I mean, that's maybe what he's talking about. He's talking about in Indy
this
4.
Film, he crashes through the windshield when he didn't go.
Yeah,
he thought it was closer. He got hurt there. What's he talking about? Did he not see the film? Or
well, also in the fight with the guy in the Ring of Fire Ants, in the Ring of Ants, with the fight with that guy, he got his ass kicked for a good chunk of that fight. He was even bleeding afterwards.
Yeah, the big Russian
guy. He showed as much vulnerability in Indy 4 as I think he did in a lot of the other sequels.
In Temple of Doom, he gets turned into a zombie for a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, people.
I mean, I think that's what Chris is just saying, that in comparison to the other sequels, Indy 4 doesn't have as many of those moments.
But it does.
I've seen that criticism before where he's like a superhero in Indy 4. And I'm like, he's just as much of a superhero in Indy 4 as he is in the other three.
Again, that scene in Temple of Doom that we mentioned multiple times, going from an airplane 5 miles down, landing on a raft about as thick as, I don't know, my dick. It's not that thick of a raft.
A lot of people say Rambo 3 sucks. I don't get it.
Well, they suck.
Lawrence of Arabia of action movies. It's an epic in terms of the scale.
Well, there you go.
Never
Any
see
guy
again.
who doesn't like Commando, don't take the word for anything, not even for a grain of salt.
I don't get. You dislike Commando? Like,
I mean, even this is a fun action movie. Like, it's just a fun action movie. It's not rocket science, but that's not the point of Commando anyway.
I get why people don't like Rambo 3, but I don't care what they think. In the words,
I think a lot of the reasons why they don't like Rambo 3 is shit that happened years later. A lot of people, they helped the Taliban. I'm like, well, they didn't have
that
knowledge.
Didn't happen when the movie came out. Like, get over it. They weren't the Taliban yet. Okay, get over it.
Like, oh yeah, Jesus. I remember that. I remember him giving Halloween 3 a really bad rating.
Well, fuck him again. Because Halloween 3
I'm sure he'll make such a better horror film.
Because that's why Tom Atkins had a career and he didn't.
Yeah, he does he's not getting hurt as much.
Oh man.
Well, I mean, yeah, in some ways, yes, that is accurate. But he's not getting hurt a ton in Indy in The Last Crusade either.
It's not like there's Rocky where you got beaten to a bloody pulp in each of the films.
And then he quote unquote had brain damage, which I love.
Yeah, Rocky.
I love when like real scientists and doctors debunk that. Like that was awesome.
That's another bad 5.
I like Rocky 5. That's just me. But I loved how doctors were like, no, like real doctors were like, no, there's no brain damage. He's fine. Like this is Hollywood.
The same criticisms with Die Hard 2 and 4, especially Die Hard 4.
Give me a break. Die Hard 2, he's on a snowmobile and it gets blown up. And then he gets the shit kicked out of him on the airplane. He gets the shit kicked out of him at the church.
Yeah, I don't get that
He
McClane's
has
too
a
superhuman for Die
scaffold
Hard 2.
fall on him, and he can't get the gun.
He gets his finger. Doesn't he get his finger bit? One of his fingers, or like a part of his hand, get bitten off?
2?
Yeah, during the fight.
No, he
with
bites someone.
Oh, he bites someone.
He bites someone. I was going to say, I don't remember him getting bit, but
he was bloodied and like.
No, I think he bites William Sadler, I believe.
Yeah, he bites William Sadler. That's what I was
going to say. I don't remember.
Yeah, he bites him because the guy's overpowering him.
And then
I don't agree with McClane being too superhuman in Die Hard 2. What they think the ejections, the ejection seat scene is an example of him being a superhero.
Whatever.
I mean, that's every bit as realistic as the scene in Die Hard where he jumps off the top of the roof with a fire hose
and nothing happens. Yeah,
exactly.
And 4, like, really, like, he gets. How many car accidents does he get in that movie?
He gets the shot in his shoulder.
Yeah.
It's bad enough that, the bad guy, sticks his gun in it. Maybe they think the jet scene.
He's flying off of the plane and down, like, when the road blows up and he's like sliding down the piece of the road.
That's another like fourth film in the franchise that gets too much shit.
Maybe next time we'll do that. We'll do Defending Die Hard 4.
He claims that Mac was a boring character because he was motivated by money.
Okay.
I mean, you could say that for a lot of characters. Is Benny a boring character because he was technically motivated by similar things in The Mummy?
You could argue that about Belloc because it was the same thing about Belloc.
Yeah,
Belloc was motivated by money.
Yeah.
First, I thought you meant Benny from Total Recall. I got 5 kids.
Oh, him too.
By money.
Screw you, Benny.
I ain't even got any kids.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know what's mediocre about Rambo 3. I mean, actual legitimate attack helicopters, explosions, shooting in all real locations.
The only problem was when the movie came out, it was already outdated because the Soviet Union was no more. Other than that, I mean, it was the most expensive movie at the time. It was all real. It was all practical. I don't care.
Sly was like in the best physical shape of his entire life doing that movie.
So whatever, screw him. Rambo 3 is awesome. Rambo 3 was always my favorite.
What works about Indy is that he always survives with the skin of his teeth. That's not the case here. Well, what do you mean it's not the case? He barely survives the whole warehouse fight. He needed a rocket car to get out of that.
And a refrigerator.
He had a refrigerator. He had to survive a nuclear blast in a refrigerator. Like, how is that not barely surviving by the skin of your teeth? Like, he had 60 seconds to scramble and find the damn fridge before the atom bomb went off. You have the stuff where he's stuck in quicksand and needs to use a snake to get out of there. The even the whole stuff in the jungle with Spalko and the Jeep and whatever, a lot of that's very back and forth, very one of those things where he needs help from everyone in order to get the skull back. Even the little bits in what is it? Was it Peru or whatever? Like when he's going to the ruin the first time trying to find the skull and he's fighting the protectors of the ruins or whatever. And they do the whole thing where he has to find a way to, get away from him, and he blows the dart into the guy's throat. Or, the stuff in, the finale. Like, he has to escape a whole entire thing collapsing around him, and the interdimensional portal opening up. So, and even the fight with the Russian and the ants, in the circle of ants, like, he barely survives that fight. What are you talking about?
Well, okay, Rambo 3 came out in 88, but you have to realize that at that point, Gorbachev and Ronald Reagan are on TV, like, hugging and shaking hands and stuff. So Russia
Yeah.
wasn't the bad guys anymore. I get that
We're-
the Soviet Union fell years later,
Mm-hmm.
but they were already like not the bad guys anymore in real life.
Mhm.
So yeah,
With Chris Cole, we're not necessarily saying that he's a bad person.
yeah, I just don't agree with
I
him.
think in some ways the way that he, got his channel to where it is, if the rumors are true in terms of him, saying things and not following through on them and doing a lot of this other stuff and some shady things in order to get more subscribers, if that's accurate, then that's kind of a shitty thing to do. But that was such a long time ago. I'm hoping that maybe he learned from that. And, it does seem like he's a decent guy, but I'm just not a fan of his content. And I'm not a fan of Jeremy Johns either. He always acts like he's on cocaine every time he does his videos.
That's funny.
Hey, at least he says he likes Broken Arrow. I will give him that. I don't think he needs to say it's a guilty pleasure, because I don't feel guilty at all for loving Broken Arrow, because that movie's awesome.
God. Come back and talking about Chris suck ass still. He can suck these crystal balls
Yeah,
and his
Broken Arrow is
crystal
awesome.
skull.
He's talking about the ADR for
That's
Crystal
why he has no
Skull.
brains. His
I
fucking
will
crystal skull on
say
his
this.
fucking head.
It might have been the
fucking
film
dickwad,
itself.
fucking asshole dipshit. Chris Stuckman. Fuck Chris shithead. Fuck Chris Shillman. Fucking chode ass motherfucker.
It feels like it's the
dickwad.
Chevy Chase rant in Christmas Vacation. Holy
Because I'm
shit!
tired of people like, well, Chris Stuckman like this. Chris Stuckman hated
Where's
this.
the
I don't
title
give a
now?
fuck what he likes or don't like. He can like whatever the hell he wants, dislike whatever the hell he wants. It's not the Masters, not the Teens, not Sisters, not Ebert. I don't give a fuck about Chris shithead, Chris Fuckman. Fuck himself up the ass with a pogo stick, up the bound and down a rhinoceros ass for all I care. Fuck the shithead. Go back to the Jehovah's Witness Protection Program. I don't give a fuck. I'm sure your movie will suck ass too. Shelby Road. Whatever. Shitty title, probably for a shitty found footage movie. Yeah, because we need more found footage films. There's only like 2,572,000 of them because I've seen half of them. Anyway, so fuck Chris.
Speaking of sort of found footage, was Skinamarink a found footage?
What?
I didn't see it
was
yet.
that?
You haven't seen it yet?
It's a request I got. New horror film. Skinamarink is the name of it.
Skinamarink?
Yeah, Skinamarink.
The fuck?
Skinamarink doo.
Skinamarink, yeah. Low budget horror film that came out in theaters.
Is it a Disney movie? It sounds
No.
like a Disney movie.
That's why I thought it was at first. It's not though. I haven't seen it.
Have an ass.
Going to what Frame by Frame said, I did kind of notice something when I was watching the 4K, but it might have just been the sound mix on the disc. It might not have actually been how it actually was in the theater. But I think it was leveled out fine. The worst thing was just randomly my sound bar just decided to not have sound, so I had to reset the HDMI arc again, and then it worked. It was like in the middle of it was the scene where they're in the truck and they escape, and then the sound just randomly just cut out completely, and I'm like, what the fuck? I thought it might come back, but no, I had to do some extra shit.
The battery died.
What happened between Shia LaBeouf and Steven? I don't know. Something that I guess caused a fallout between the two, I guess.
That's the first
I think
I've
it was
ever heard.
afterward. I think it was just his behavior afterward where he went crazy.
Well, he
Which
seems
too
to
bad
be
because
doing
I'm sure
better.
a lot of kids. A lot of kids gonna go crazy.
I hope they don't. Don't do that.
This is why you shouldn't have child actors, but sure. Because 99% of them turn out to be nuts.
Don't kill off Indy 5 and Indy 5.
Yes, please, for the love of
don't kill off Indy.
You can
Indy
do
5.
whatever else you want.
Kill off Indy 5. That'd be better.
Well, yeah, that's okay. So just don't kill the character. Kill the movie. Just don't release it.
So that's both of you. That's both of you.
Yeah.
What do you think will be the ending of Indy 5? as a guess.
Well, don't they have like 18 different endings?
Supposedly, John Williams said, but then the director's like, well, he was mistaken. Guy's doing the composing. He's done like 40 movies. I think he knows when
A
you're
little bit more
reshooting
than
something
you,
or not.
and he's done
Mhm.
all the other movies, so there's that. But I mean, yeah, I heard like there's all these different endings. I think what happened was they tested it and the test screening went awful, and they're like, what do we do? So they had to come up with something else. So I think either in the test screening they killed him, and then people were like, no, and then they reshot it. But I don't, if they do kill him off, I like, what the fuck? But if they don't,
They
they'll
already made that
probably,
mistake in The Force Awakens when they killed Han Solo. Like, don't
yeah,
do that shit again.
because Harrison Ford had it in his contract to where you had to kill him off.
Yeah, because he doesn't like Han Solo.
Right,
In actual
but
reality, like Harrison legitimately loves Indiana Jones.
he
Like,
loves
that's the
Indy,
character.
but he hates Han Solo.
I
But
know,
Han
it's
Solo,
crazy.
but it's weird because Han Solo gave him a career.
I know. I know.
But they'll probably do like a passing of the torch thing. Like if they kill
Fucking
him,
Helena, whatever, not Helena Bonham Carter.
the other, I don't know her
What?
name. Yeah,
Her character is Helena Shaw.
Oh, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, the
Phoebe
new one.
Waller-Bridge, yeah.
Phoebe, if it was Phoebe Cates, okay, I can see that. But
I didn't even see that. Like, no,
that's
we don't
different.
need
Phoebe
to be.
Cates is different.
Yeah, with moving stereo in the background, if she's
Damn
coming out
right.
of a pool, and then she grabs the hat, and then
And then Judge Reinhold's there for no reason.
embarrassing himself in the bathroom.
I think when they shot that, he had like a banana or something. 'Cause
Yeah,
they needed
yeah.
something, so he got like a banana, and so that's why her face is the way that it is, because they didn't tell her what it was going to be, which makes it even more hilarious.
But yeah, in terms of how it will end, I think because of like the backlash online and stuff like that, I think they'll play it safe. I think they're not going to do a passing of the torch. I don't think they're going to do anything like that. I don't think they're going to kill Indy off. I think what they're going to do is just going to be a generic sort of ending. You know, he's back at, back at home,
The old folks' home.
or he's back at the school, the college teaching or whatever. Like, I don't think they're going to go that extreme of a route, considering everything that just came out on social media when all of that was being kind of rumored.
Yep. When people started leaking stuff out that saw the test screening and they weren't supposed
Which
to.
could be real, but also could be bullshit. Like, Disney
True.
could be fucking with these people like Doomcock and whatever by deliberately leaking bullshit information to their
Like,
so-called sources.
when they leaked out Halloween Kills, that was legit because it all happened in the movie. So
Yeah.
Not that
it
changed anything, because it was still a shitty movie.
Prey was pretty accurate too in terms of what they were talking about in terms of the rumored plot before the movie even was released.
Mm-hmm.
I just think the director's being so defensive that I think it hit a nerve.
Yeah.
Tim Smith did the same thing with the
started
He-Man
that
cartoon.
out. He started out doing that with the tweets, and I kind of defended him because the guy who was being a dick. But like now I'm like, this is just a cycle that's repeating with Mangold, and I'm like, just dude, stay off fucking Twitter.
Yeah, worry about your film. Why you worry about Twitter if it's not true?
They all
if it's so
do this.
untrue.
Because Paul Feig
Maybe
did
there
the
is some
same
truth to
thing,
it.
and Paul, that was 7 years ago,
yeah.
and Paul Feig still isn't over it.
I will give the trailer this. It's a great trailer anyway. Like, the teaser trailer is great.
I don't watch
the trailer when Ford says part-time
Indy
to the
Portrayal,
kid.
you mean?
Yeah, Indy
The
Portrayal.
part-time.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant the...
Nah, sorry. My bad.
My bad. Sorry.
My bad.
It was just different.
I got hungry brain right now, so my brain is just like, it's got food on the brain.
That trailer, right? Yeah, that trailer. Which one?
That's what happens when you know your brain is focusing on food more than
I'm
anything
right
else.
there with you. But no, all that is just it's different takes because the trailers are done in advance. So they probably switched out the take during editing. Or they thought, "Oh, well this one sounds better, so we'll put it in the trailer that way it's a stronger trailer." Like a lot of that is just what can
But
we
I
do
think
to
you could
make
have
the
had
trailer
that
look good?
if there's a way to edit that into the final film. They should have, because that was a better take.
Yeah, again, that was probably just an editing
I agree
choice
with
and
that. I agree with that. It was a
Um,
better take line
they
reading
heard
in the
that
trailer. But I mean,
Short
it
Round
doesn't
is going to
ruin the
be
film.
the new Indy.
oh, I didn't know
That's a
that.
better
No, I don't
passing
think
of
he's
the
in it.
torch than anything else. But
I
I
don't
don't
think
I
it's
don't
going to
really.
happen.
No, I don't think
There's
so
been
either.
zero word that he's even in the film, so no, they would have
Yeah.
had some kind of
Something
when
would
the
have
movie's
came
coming out
out, right?
was coming out in the summer or whatever. Well, actually, is it next year or is it this year?
No, it's coming
This
out
year,
this year.
this year. I know
So that, I
that
mean, it's so
the
soon.
actor Jonathan, he's gonna be in a Marvel show or whatever. He's gonna do that, but I don't think he's gonna
That's too
be
bad.
in that.
The
At
check
least he'll get a
cleared.
paycheck. At least get that money at least.
This is frame by frame. One last question: what would you all rate the movie? I'm gonna give it 4 stars out of 5. Seriously,
Yeah. The only thing I
the
would
issues I
complain
have
about
with it are minor.
is
Some of the
minor. Yeah.
yeah, some of the characters. You know, I think the villain could have been a little bit better, a little bit more compelling. I think some of the stuff with Ray Winstone, even though I like his character, gets a little old with the whole like, "Oh, I'm not on your side. Oh, I am on your side," and then whatever. Um, but I did like the stuff where Indy. Actually, I would have preferred it rather if he just stayed like the bad guy the entire time, because it was really fun when Indy knew it and was like punching him in the face. And you have that whole scene where it's like, "I'm gonna break your nose." And then it's like, and he lets Indy go, and then he just punches him in the face. So I like that stuff, you know, the antagonistic sort of back and forth between those two characters. Part of me almost would have I like the fact they kind of had Karen Allen as a surprise, but part of me almost would have liked to have had her in the film more, because you know because Harrison and Karen were working so well together. Um, and maybe just a few stuff with the tone, like the stuff with the gophers and some of this other stuff, you know, definitely was a bit of a knock. But still think it's a really fun action adventure movie that definitely has an epic size and scale to it.
How about you, Fabio? What were your nitpicks? You mentioned you had maybe some nitpicks or stuff,
Yeah,
but
just
in
I
your
wish
rating,
I wish the villains were a little bit stronger because the previous movies I think had stronger villains. That's just me. Um and just the
I can
CG,
see that.
but I've been saying that since the movie came out. And my biggest gripe with that is the first 3 had no CG. And there's no way that you can tell me, well, in 2008 they had to use CG. No, they could have done that movie 100% practical. So that's really the only thing is like, well, the other ones didn't have CG. Why can't this one not have it either? So,
Mm-hmm.
and then yeah, just I wish the villains were a little bit more memorable. Other than that, I've always liked it. I liked it in the theater when it came out, and I like it now, all these years later. And I've never understood the hate for it. I never will. It's just people trying to be cool and edgy or whatever the kids say now. I don't care. If you like it, you should like it. If you don't, you don't. There's no in between, in my opinion. It's like a guilty pleasure. I hate that term. Either you like the movie or you don't. There's no other way about it.
I think there's some films that are like so bad it's good, and I can see why some people, you know, maybe might feel the need to mention the guilty pleasure sort of thing.
Well, it depends on the movie.
You know, like Return of Swamp Thing. I enjoy that movie, but it's not a good film. Like, to be honest, like it's a low budget like B movie with a
But
lot
it's
of
fun.
dumb shit in it, but it is fun.
It's like Roadhouse. Roadhouse is not so bad it's good.
That's not
Shut
a
up.
guilty pleasure, and that's not a so
Right,
bad it's good
exactly.
movie.
Roadhouse is
Now,
awesome.
the remake is going to be bad, That's for damn sure.
Fuck the remake. And fuck the sequel. The sequel was awful too.
Yeah, I'd probably give it the same rating. I'd probably give it 4 out of 5. Yes, there are issues. You could edit out the Monty stuff, the Gopher stuff, tone down the CGI, maybe work with Kate Blanchett a little bit more on her accent, or maybe add. You know who would be a good villain? You know, like an American villain with Kate Blanchett? Tom Selleck.
Someone actually
So-
mentioned Tom Selleck as a cameo. Like Tom
That would be
Selleck
fun.
But him
Yeah.
as like the American villain, and he's a traitor, and he was like a rival for Indiana Jones, and there's like a back and forth between the two since he was
Yeah.
going to be Indy. So it could be like a bit of you took my job, but you don't put that in the movie. But it's like, but
You could have maybe
Very
little in
fun.
jokes like that. You know, the whole I was up for that teaching position, that blah blah blah.
Yeah, just have them be
You know?
rivals. Why not? It would be fun.
Yeah. But it was a fun adventure movie. They treated the character with respect, and that's my number one point of it. So many characters get mistreated, and in Rambo 4, we had sequels that treated characters with respect, and that's not a thing anymore.
Nope.
And believe it or not, that's the most important thing, at least to me, I think for a lot of people, is how characters you like are treated. And with so
Yeah.
many years now of the mistreatment of characters again and again and again in the past, to me it started back in the day of Alien 3 and mistreating Hicks and Newt and Ripley.
And Ripley.
And it's and they just follow that format as if someone listened to the cult following Alien 3 and said, well, this makes us more artistic, so kill off Captain Kirk and Generations. Kill off fucking
Oh
Luke
yeah,
and
that
Han
fucking
and
thing. Generations. That
But to be fair, they wrote a book and they like retconned it and they brought him back. So I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
I
The Return.
can buy
the
that.
return. Yeah, but it's still just a
Wish it
book.
was an
and-
animated movie.
yeah, because
Animated movie would be cool on that.
I don't even know why they did that anyway. Like, and if you are gonna have Kirk die, at least have him die like in a more memorable, heroic fashion.
Heroic.
It
Not
was
on a
different, but they
bridge.
reshot it for whatever reason.
Huh?
Yeah, because in the
First
in the
time I
work
heard
print,
that.
yeah, in the work print it's different. But then for whatever reason
Huh.
they reshot it. So yeah,
They need to
Weird.
just shot in the back, without the bridge or something.
yeah. And then they
Yeah,
added the bridge
he
because
just-
they made it.
Well, that's
they had-
still lame too. That still
right,
sucks.
either way, it's stupid. Like, oh well. But
That's what I mean. Just yeah, go ahead.
I'll never understand the cult following for Alien 3. I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
Like, what
It's
are
so
you people,
underrated because it's
what
so
are you people
ballsy.
talking about? Like, no.
But yeah, just the way this one treated its characters, it was to me one last good fun adventure. It is not a flawless film. No one is saying it's a flawless film. It's a fun film. It's a piece of escapism that even as an older guy in 2008, from when I saw these films, the original as a kid, it was great to see him back one more time, and it had a good cast. Shia was not as bad as people make it out to be. Again,
No.
I don't get his performance was not a bad performance. I could show you from Neil Breen films.
Like, there's
to
actually some
Kate
good
Bell
acting
films,
from
all-
Shia in that film. That scene when he's looking at all of the deranged writings on the wall of Ox. Like, there's some good acting from Shia in that scene where he's just reacting to everything and just being sad. Because, you know, just seeing the aftermath of someone he loves, you know, having been in prison for so long, and, you know, just the whole stuff with the, you know, just completely lost his mind. But
Even the scene in the diner when
Yeah.
he grabs the cup and he puts when they're going back and forth. I've always liked that scene. He dips his comb and then it's funny. It's a good scene. There's some good dialogue and the chemistry.
Mhm.
It's funny.
even like the back and forth with the whole stuff, you're not my father, you're not my dad,
Mhm.
you know, that sort of thing. Nick, he said, would you say that Halloween 5 did all that before Alien 3? Kinda.
I mean, kinda,
I-
yeah.
Similar.
But
Alien 3, I hate more.
yes, I Halloween 5, I like it
Yes.
for what it is. At least all the annoying characters get killed, so I can't complain about that. And at least or at least Halloween 5 didn't kill off Loomis in a stupid way, or Jane. Like, okay, yeah, the way Rachel gets killed is stupid, but
Well,
I
even the
mean,
way that they they didn't kill Loomis off, but I think the plan was for him to die. That was the
that was
initial
the plan. And then they're like, oh, well, we'll just make another one. And, you know, that's why he's not in the last scene, because that was the idea. He is going to die. And then
more trolls.
yeah.
Better acting than Cage. It
Yeah,
has a
don't worry
million.
about it.
The
Now
acting in
I'm
this is a million
racist.
times better.
That's great. Now I'm racist. Cool. That's original.
Yes, the ground downbeat ringtone and Indy works for 7. It does not work for Alien 3.
Yeah. And people bitched about that when it first came out. When 7 first came out. Now it's
not that
like,
we all
oh,
want
it's
happy endings. I mean, the ending for
just
the
not
Thing
every
is
movie.
the Thing is pretty sad, pretty depressing, pretty bleak.
Yeah, I mean, because you don't know what's going to happen, which I like because it works for that movie. And then speaking of John Carpenter, Martin Scorsese just did an interview and he said They Live is his favorite John Carpenter film. So that made me happy.
Cool.
But yeah, 7, they tested it, and some woman was like, whoever made this movie deserves to be shot. I'm like, oh my God.
So frame by frame is one more thing, and I'll probably leave the floor here for this question, because my body is screaming at me to eat something.
That's okay.
But it's been over 2 hours, so I think we've had a nice good length. But no, not really. I want to. I'm a big fan of Indiana Jones as a character, the franchise as a whole. I grew up watching the trilogy, loved seeing Indy 4 in the theater, played video games. One of my favorite video games is Indiana Jones and the Emperor's Tomb. And I'm really psyched it actually is on Steam, and I actually downloaded it on Steam. I've never used Steam. I've never downloaded a single game from Steam or bought one, and I bought it. And I heard that you can use like an old Xbox 360 controller on your PC, so I need to dig mine up because I'm not using the PC controls because that shit is pain in the ass.
I agree.
But I'm really excited to play that more. Maybe even do like videos on it, because it's going to be a lot easier for me to record footage with my PC, since I will be using Steam. But that's a whole other story. But yeah, I mean, I grew up reading Indiana Jones novels, which if you're a fan of Indy, I do recommend those books. They're fun to read. There's one where he fights Nazis, and it's called It's called again. He fights them a lot. There's one. It's called The Secret of the Sphinx. He gets involved, in Egypt, and some artifact or something like that involving the Sphinx. There is one called Indiana Jones on the Hollow Earth that I really enjoy, that had a lot of fun action in it, where Indy fights these Nazis again, but he's finding the Hollow Earth, which is the theory is that there's this part of Earth that is hidden, and there's like all these sort of ancient flora and fauna and animals and whatever and so on. And so that was fun. And there's just a lot of them. There's the Dark Horse comics, which are fun. Oh, yeah. And even the old Marvel comics, the Adventures of Indiana Jones. So I'm a huge fan of the character and the franchise, but I don't have a lot of hopes for it, because of the fact that I think they ended it just where it needed to end with Indy 4. Harrison is now absolutely showing his age. you could argue he was showing his age in Indy 4, but when I watched the film again, he wasn't really showing his age a whole lot because he was still in good shape. I mean, there's a scene with him, he had the shirt off, getting, the radiation scrub or whatever, and then he has his white t-shirt on, and for an older guy, you could tell that Harrison did some dieting, worked out, like he might have been in like the best shape. And I think I remember reading something where he's like, I'm in the best shape that I've been in years for this movie, and it really does show. I don't see that here, and with the trailer for Indy 5, and I don't even see a lot of Harrison doing a lot of stunts or doing a lot of anything. Like there's a shot in Indy 4 where you can tell that Harrison is on the back of that motorcycle, and that whole scene where he's like scraping his feet on the ground, like it looks like Harrison did that stunt. It doesn't look like it was a stunt double, and there were some stunt doubles. I remember seeing footage of that when the hype was building about the movie. But I don't think he's showing his age way more. There's a lot of CGI stunt doubles. There's a lot of CGI stuff. It's more CGI in this than there is in this movie. I don't like the idea of time travel. People think Aliens is ridiculous, but at least the alien thing had an artifact. At least it had, connection. It also had a connection to history. What connection to history does a time travel device have in archaeology? And I don't like the idea of Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character. It seems like they're trying to recreate Marion, but in a way less likable way. And the villain, like who? The trailer didn't like nothing about the bad guy from anything you saw seemed like he was. And one of them is Boyd Holbrook, who sucked ass in Logan and sucked in The Predator. So that's not a good sign. But I don't have a whole lot of hope. Of course, Kathleen Kennedy is the producer. Like, why should anyone have any hope with Kathleen Kennedy still running Lucasfilm with this movie?
She gives good head, maybe.
I'll still see it, but hope?
Maybe not.
Not really.
Maybe she sucks at it. I don't know. She sucks at everything else.
Yeah, there's a book series frame by frame.
There's multiple book series.
Multiple books.
Because they have Indiana Jones, they have Young Indiana Jones books, there's a lot of books, and someone asked, there was Dark Horse Comics. Dark Horse and Marvel both did comic book series, and I recommend both of them. I have some of the each, and I have some of the books, and there was a Young Indiana Jones. He was like on the Titanic. I remember reading that in school.
I remember reading that when I was a kid too.
Yeah.
And there were a bunch of Young Indiana Jones books. And there was a bunch of Choose Your Own Adventure ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were called Find Your Fate, but it was the same thing. But
I watched some Young Indiana Jones, not a lot. That's what I'm curious about watching. I had some Young Indiana Jones comics. I have an unopened box of Young Indiana Jones trading cards. But I'm curious about. I do have them on DVD. But
I like it for what it is. Just the effects are awful, which is weird because it was so expensive to do that show. They look like a Sega CD game, like the FMV games. They're pretty bad looking. Especially,
I love trolls. Just trolls who donate, who give me money.
Yeah, they're idiots. They're even more idiots. I'm
like, thank you.
But
he did get a $20 one from Bobby.
I got from Bobby.
Yeah.
Got another donation from Bobby. Thank you, Bobby. It's like we like whatever we like. There's nothing wrong with that. I like My Little Pony. You guys don't watch that stuff, and that's okay. Yeah, it's fine. Just watch it for fun, and I'll
be
watch
weird
that.
With it.
Then K-13, Euphoria, and Cuties. Yeah, don't be weird with it.
Just don't be weird with it.
Hey, John.
I don't remember what it was
190
called.
years old.
I don't remember what the one where he was on the Titanic was called, but yeah, he's on the Titanic.
Dial of Life Alert is going to suck.
Of course.
But Fabi, I don't know if you do you have any hope for Indy 5?
Yeah, I hope it doesn't get released. I hope they use it as a tax write-off. I don't, because it's not genuine. They're only doing it because, number one, it's a guaranteed moneymaker because it's the brand name. Number two, they realize, and I'm not going to go into a whole tirade, but they realize that Disney has screwed up so much in the past couple of years that now they're trying to reel people back in. And unfortunately, people are going to go see it. I wish people wouldn't, but it is what it is. No, I love the character as well. I'll stick with the 4 movies that I like. I'll stick with the video games and the other stuff that's out there, and I'll just will I ever see the movie? I mean, if it was a paid request, but that's about it. I'm not going to go spend my money on something that I know I'm not going to like. So yeah, I don't care.
There's this point from Chase, like when he rides the horse in Indy 5, it's a stunt double.
Oh,
Yeah, you
of
can
course.
tell.
It's not Harrison Ford.
He rode the horses in Last Crusade. Like that was actually Harrison.
There's no reason to have hope.
5,000 years old.
He's so old he remembers the Titanic.
True. He's the old lady in the movie now.
There's a line in Indy 4 where Mutt says, like, what are you, like 80?
Yep.
And I'm like, he is 80 now.
Now he is.
And that was like a joke in that movie. You know, it was like, what are you, 80?
The jokes write themselves now.
So, yeah, the Uncharted games. Not the Uncharted movie, though. That was a piece of shit. That sucked.
People actually watched it?
I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people who probably think that Uncharted is better than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I don't get it.
But have they seen Kingdom of the Crystal Skull? They probably just say that.
Because Uncharted was so lame. Such a lame
I haven't
movie.
seen it, but I believe it.
Tom Holland was horribly miscast as Nathan Drake.
What a
Didn't
shot.
buy it at all. Mark Wahlberg was just sleeping. Doing a sleepwalking performance.
Because the check cleared.
And the villains were shit. And the action was pretty lame for the most part. It felt like a much lamer version of like a National Treasure movie. And Nathan Drake, he gets his gun and he immediately loses it in a battle and doesn't do anything with it. So that, you know, so if you're a fan of the games, it's that's like a big fuck you moment. It's like, oh, he finally gets it. Oh, wait. Nope.
Just go back to
anything.
Wahlberg.
That would be like if in Indy 5, Indy gets his whip and then immediately loses it.
Or Escape from LA when Snake loses that gun in the first 30 minutes of the movie.
Yeah. But that movie's still good though.
Yeah. I hate that happens. But he gets the coat back, but he doesn't get the gun back.
All right, frame by frame. Oh, maybe you're talking about
me,
both of us. I don't know. I definitely
go eat. I'm supposed to go eat. What?
I don't know.
What are you eating? Is he buying? What's going on here?
I think maybe he's talking to me. He's like, go get something to eat. I'm like, yeah, I will.
His name's not Matt.
I know.
He's Mike.
I'm confused.
Didn't Uncharted like have a fight scene in a fast food place, Subway or something?
Yeah,
product placement. Because
yeah.
they were sponsoring the movie. Oh Jesus! Again, the jokes write themselves.
I don't know what else to say about Indy 5 either.
Fuck Indy 5. Why do people think it would ever be good? What reasons could there be?
Because it's Indiana Jones, guys, and we have to go see it.
It's the same logic for all these other sequels.
Of course. That's
the same logic for Scream 4.
Exactly.
Same logic for Halloween, the new trilogy. It's going to be the same
Scream.
logic for
We gotta
The
watch
Exorcist.
it. It's
the new
Halloween.
Exorcist trilogy.
We gotta watch it. No, you don't.
You don't.
You don't. You do not. You could turn it off.
It's the same logic for the Evil Dead movie, The Evil Dead Rise, which isn't even going to be about
You mean Demons
Evil
2?
Dead in a high rise.
Yeah, Demons 2. I'll watch Demons 2. It's the same movie.
Well, if I want to see Indy kill Nazis, I'll just watch the first. Why would I need to watch Indy 5?
I'll watch Last Crusade.
It's the same Mangold.
It's James Mangold, guys. I'll go watch Copland. I'm good.
I hope not.
If
I don't
really
need an Indy. I do not need an Indy. No Indiana Jones memorial at the end of this movie.
Great, be Clerks 3 over again, and then a memorial.
But on that note, folks, we're at 2.5 hours. I think that is a good time to probably call it a stream.
Cool.
Thank you,
Thanks, Frame by
Fabio and Matt, for joining me. Thanks,
Thank
Frame
you
by
for having
Frame,
me.
for
Thank you,
the
Frame by Frame. This was fun.
request. It definitely was a lot of fun. I actually think it would be a fun idea to do something like this for some other film, down the line. Yeah, I know.
There we go.
Trust me, I'm gonna be eating a lot when I get off this stream.
We'll do Rambo 3 or Live Free or Die Hard.
Yeah, that'd be fun. But yeah, that is the Defending Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull stream. So thank you everyone in the chat for joining in. I mean, even some of the trolls, because you still paid me.
Sending Mike the money.
Yeah,
Troll.
you stupid.
And for those of you who sent super chats, thank you so much. And yeah, until the next stream or next time you see me, I'll see you later. And you guys can say bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Have a good night.